Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rise of Drekis, Chapter 1, Episode 2, here with Elaine Pentolin, our player character. How are you doing, Elaine?
I'm pretty motivated to get this mission going. Slightly hurt because I got bitten into my shoulder last time we talked, so not too excited about that, but pressing on, I guess. You know?
Yeah, bear claws. They're not just for breakfast. Oh. History joke for those that do not know. So last session, aside from getting bear clawed, what was the last session? What did we do? How did we get here?
Well, last session was the first session in this chapter. So Elaine has arrived with her troops on Arrow Island, which is part of the Talons. They had a look around the first landing site, which seemed to be an abandoned building site, construction site, kind of something like that. The troops have seen their first Yeti in the woods, or what they assume is a Yeti. Decided to abandon that site and land somewhere else. So then they, in the end, they landed in a more wooden area and started exploring like around there and setting up a base camp. And as they were setting up the base camp, they spotted an intruder who had come to the camp for whatever reason. We don't know, because the bowmen were very motivated and killed that man who'd come to the camp very quickly, so there was no questioning them. But the person seemed very emaciated and in poor shape, so to speak. So Elaine and her people set out to find where that person was coming from, and if there were other people, other footsteps they could possibly pursue. They did find other footsteps and tried to follow that person who had, like, that second person who had obviously spotted the camp and then run away at some point. But instead of into that person, they ran into a polar bear, which was not a very nice encounter for anybody involved. Nobody enjoyed this, neither the polar bear nor the troops. But it turned out that the polar bear had actually already been shot by another group that was not Elaine's, so they decided to try to track down whoever had shot that polar bear. But yeah, we haven't done much. We don't have much progress time-wise, I think. We're still just a few, like in the very first few days of the mission, and we're currently, I believe, going southward along the river, trying to find who had shot that polar bear.
Along the coastline.
That was what we were doing. Yes, I think so.
Excellent.
Coastline? Coastline, yeah.
Coastline, right, because you followed the bear prints down to the ocean where it looked like maybe it had crawled out of the sea with some arrow wounds.
Right, and we'd found some arrows stuck in the sand as well there, or sandy snow or whatever that was.
Yeah. Do we know why people were shooting a polar bear with bows and arrows?
I mean, my guess would just be because they're starving, honestly. If that is the same group where that intruder came from, he looked pretty emaciated, so I think these people are starving. I had Elaine thought about it as well, because they do have a cleric, allegedly. So sometimes it is said that clerics have the ability to conjure food and water, right? But she's not an expert on these things, but like there's the possibility that the cleric isn't strong enough to do that task, which if you look in the rule books, that is probably the reason. Like, they are not high level enough to conjure food and water. But for Elaine, it's either that or there might be something wrong with magic. You know, you don't know. Or they might not be able to produce enough food and water. Or there's a third possibility, which is that person that we met is not part of the group that has the cleric. Because it's not necessarily, all one united front. Like, there might be still people there from the, that were sent there last and that shipwrecked. We don't know if it's one group, if everybody died, or if it's two group and one is desperately trying to survive and the other is comfortable. We'll have to figure that out. So.
well, let me just open up my rule book over here. All sorts of fun things. Rolly. Excellent. Huh. Okay, well, let us come into our area. You have with you a partial spear. You've taken one of your sergeants, 3 spearmen, 3 bowmen. You've fought off the polar bear. You've been walking not on the coast, but on like little high ground just above the coast. And sure enough, we didn't say this last session, you come across tracks. Fresh tracks in the snow.
And I take it they are narrow tracks, as in they look the same as before, or does it look like several people walk next to each other, or are they as big as a polar bear, you know, like size-wise?
There is, in the immediate area where you find them, it's a whole mess of prints and tracks and like people stomping down, and there's so much that like it could be 3 people who walked around a whole lot, or it could be 100 people. Like it's just a sea of stomped snow. But then as you proceed following them, you do see that they converge more or less into a single file line, with the occasional something bopping off to the side or stepping off to the side. But there does then begin to form like a trench where everyone's following one another to, like, you know, walk in the tamped down snow, so it's a little bit easier. You don't have a good sense of the numbers. There's no proficient trackers in this group, but it is a very clear marching line or walking line through the snow.
Right. Well, it is a little strange, because if it was only one person, why would they make such a large trampled down circle? You know, that seems like a lot of tracks for a single person. So that place where all the tracks, you know, like just to rewind a little bit, where all the tracks are, where you said, you know, it's kind of, it could be 100 or whatever. If I have a look around there, also look around towards like the water, where am I? Like, is there anything interesting that could be spotted from this vantage point that tells me this is a, you know, a specific stopping point or something like that?
It has a great field of view of where that polar bear would have been when it came out of the water. You can see those polar bear markings from here very easily. But other than that, it doesn't seem, at least not off the top of your head. Maybe if we made a wisdom check?
You love those, don't you? It's my worst check and they keep coming. Let's see. There we go.
Yeah, this looks pretty much just like they must have seen a polar bear and then stopped and started shooting at it. That must be it, right? There's doesn't trees, a little bit of a cliff, icy water. Can't even see the mountain because the trees are blocking the point of view. I don't know. Doesn't look like anything to you.
They only hit 2 arrows on the polar bear, though. Which is not an awful lot for that. If there were that many people up there, you know, you would have expected more arrows. That would have been down in the sand. If there were like 20 people up here shooting arrows, or even just 10, there would have been probably more than the 4 total we found. 2 in the polar bear, 2 in the sand.
Yeah, your intuition tells you that arrows could have landed in the water, or the water could have washed up on the sand a little bit and pulled arrows out. You found 4, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the total number that were shot.
Right. Well, I assume if you shoot down from here, is it long range with the bow?
Yeah, you'd be at probably medium range.
Okay, so I assume
-2 to hit. Yeah.
So, okay, but then, you know, in my head, I'm just trying to figure out what that looks like. Then the polar bear starts charging. You'd still fire at it from the back if it keeps running. From medium to long range, like that's, you know, you probably would have the chance to shoot it at least like 3 times would be my assumption. If it wasn't from long range, so that's not too bad. It's maybe 12 arrows total, and I missed a lot of them. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. It doesn't sound like there were 50 people here shooting at the bear. Okay. Anything else suspicious in this place? Just the footsteps, nothing else. Okay.
There's nothing else. But would you please click me that supplies button? It should be fixed, so you can click it now.
Yes, I'm excited. Okay, are you ready? Let's go.
Yes.
Wah!
Works. Excellent.
950, 352.
Great. Except we didn't consider 2 days worth of food. So we're going to eat. Okay, so we should be at 900 rations, which is perfect. That's the expected amount. That's 25 per day. You got lots of days to go. This is the 4th day of your adventure. You've got, a day of food and water on all of you, and off we go, following these trails, right?
Yep.
And what is the marching order here?
I believe single file. Gregor in front. No, sorry. No, actually, I think Gregor can take the front this time. Gregor in the front, me in the back, and just. Can I actually? Do you have the people out there? Then I can just put it on the map.
We're here with platoon 1.
All right.
We can just arrange them.
Be doing this real quick. Bowmen are here. Whoop. Whoop. Let's do it down here. Whoop. Is that spearman? Yes. No, that's spearman.
Oh my god, you're pulling people from different platoons. It's a nightmare.
I'm sorry.
I gave you the whole first platoon. No, but they were organized. We knew who was where.
You said I could organize however I want, so that's your fault.
And I regretted it.
Oh, terrible. So we're doing it like this. This. Then this guy, and Gregor.
Excellent.
And this is the front. So we're walking like that.
Perfect. Okay. There, perfect. Okay. I'm just going to move these back over here for your arrangement in a hot moment. And we're going to put you on the tree token to indicate that this party is away. And these other ones, you can see that they are on the castle token, meaning that they're hanging out in the fort. If there's ever a question as to where anyone is. So, coming along the snowy edge, the party will walk for maybe an hour. Not too terribly far. It's cool. You can hear the ever crashing water on the shore. It's more of like a lapping rather than like a large crashing. Little bits of ice sort of float up onto the sandy beaches. And maybe 20 or 30 minutes into your walking, the beach gives way to just kind of cliffs against which the waters gently lap. And near the end of that hour, looking out into the water, what should you see but a rather large iceberg on which is a ship, a crashed ship, as if, the ship was beached on an iceberg and then the iceberg rolled and lifted the ship up onto it. And out there on the ship and on the berg are what appears to be 5 people.
Whoa. Okay. I assume since we spotted them, they spotted us. This is this situation. It says, I can't quite tell if they.
Well, you're in the tree line. You had said, at least last session, that you were sort of up off the cliff, walking amongst the trees to lower your visibility. And they are pretty much wide out in the open. And so you've definitely seen them. It's uncertain if they've seen you or not.
Okay,
they don't seem to be signaling.
I will do a stop sign to my people, and we'll say crouch down. We need to have a look at this.
Yep, everyone takes a knee in the snow. Hear the creaking of joints, the jingling of chain
Mm-hmm.
Just get low.
And I will crouch down as well and shuffle over to Gregor. I'll say, what does this look like to you?
Well, looks like a crashed boat on an iceberg. They also look pretty trapped, right? Kind of looks around, and if you look at the perimeter of this iceberg, there's not really a great way off. In between you and this ship is just sort of a sea of small, icy patches. Some of it is pretty thin, some of it looks thicker, some of it looks sort of rocky and mountainous. Not rocky, but, jagged and mountainous. Sort of just a mess out there.
Right, how far are they from the shore?
Oh, not terribly far. Maybe like 150 feet. It's just really cold, icy waters with what knows living inside of it. And without access to like fire, if you were to fall into the icy water, you'd probably just freeze to death once you got yourself out. Clothing would be sopping wet. You would immediately start losing heat. You'd need dry clothes and a warm place to not die. So even if you have a swimming proficiency, like, you couldn't swim from that iceberg to the shore and expect to live unless there was some sort of aid station set up right away.
Okay. Do I spot any smaller boats? Because with the ship we arrived with had like smaller boats to land on shore. Do I spot any? Like any crashed or any still on the boat or?
No, not a one.
So I'll lean it to Gregor and I'll say, Gregor, it seems to me like these people figure that this is the safest place for them to be. And they probably have their boats with them and are just using this as their base.
What do you mean? They have their boats with them?
Well, yes, I mean, look at the size of this ship, right? They would have needed some smaller boats to land on shore if that was the initial plan.
Uh-huh. Makes sense.
So I think these landing boats they probably still have, and they use it to cross the ice water, and then nothing can really reach them once they are out there.
Makes sense to me.
So Neal, just so I can recap logically, these are the people that were sent out to look after the first people that came here, correct?
The people you're looking for... Wait. Hold on. There's a lot of... These people, the people that are on this iceberg, you're saying are the people who were sent out for...
Let me look at the names real quick.
Yeah.
So okay. Does this look like a military ship to me?
This looks
or
like
does
a
this
cargo
look like
ship.
a?
Yeah.
Okay. So
the
it
ship
looks
that was
like a
sent
cargo
to
ship.
move people was a cargo ship. It was a
exactly. So I would assume that is the Alma. Is that possible?
It's possible, absolutely. If it's not the Alma, then that means two ships have come to this island, which is possible, but less likely than one ship.
Right. So, the Alma is a cargo ship that has been used by Drekis to move men and materials, similar as we were moved to this island. The Alma technically has the same job. And their captain should be Euclid Euler, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And there should be about 15, should have been about 15 men.
Yep.
Right. Okay. I think we should probably make contact. So these people are not military people, though, right? Like, everybody who would still be alive on that ship would just be part of this privateer sailing group. There are no soldiers, as in soldiers working for Drekis on there, as far as I know.
As far as you know, the ship and its complement are entirely private citizens who are hired to do a job and have no warriors amongst them.
Okay. How far does a voice carry, usually?
Oh, you can easily
Overland.
yell to them. If you walked up to the shore, and on this map you can see, like here you are in the forest, and there's that bit of a rocky cliff going down to the water, and then some rocky icy bergs down there below. But you could, if you were at the shoreline, you could call to them.
Okay. I think I would carefully move my people forward to this first cliff here, and then have a look down here, just in case there's something going on that I can't see right now.
You can move on down, and I don't know exactly how you're doing it, but if you're, spreading your people out and deploying them,
a little bit.
you don't see anything else down here. It all looks pretty ordinary. No tracks in the snow. But when you get there, you can see the people on the boat begin waving in your direction. After a pause, there's like a look, a point, and then crossing arms, waving, "Hey there! Hello!"
I'll wave. I guess I will wave back at them, and I'll shout, "Captain Eula!"
They point towards the ship and they say, "He's injured!"
Right. Can you send a boat?
"No! We don't have any boats! They took them!"
Oh shit! All right.
Between you and that ship crash is not but a sea of ice. On this little map here, in the upper left-hand corner, we will see sort of the closest iceberg that you could possibly get to, and then on the bottom right-hand corner would be the closest iceberg to them. And everything else is just, a mess of stuff.
Okay. How much rope do we have on us?
Well, back at the fort, you've got a lot of rope, but
Yes.
nobody packed any rope for this expedition. This was just a, let's go see what we can find, and everyone's already encumbered.
How much is the fucking distance? I mean, that's like, how far can you jump into E?
That's a complicated answer. It is not easy. It's highly dependent on strength and encumbrance and footing and is it an icy surface you're jumping off of, or like a nice, well-gripped track pad?
Okay, but I mean, we are close to the shore. There are some. There's at least some woods there, right? I don't assume we all have axes with us because we're spearmen and bowmen.
But you do have wood-cutting axes back in camp.
Yes, we do. Oh, shit. So I feel like we need to come... Because it would be pretty easy to cut down some trees at the shoreline and then try to build, like, preliminary bridges in somewhere, to make it from one spot to the next. Plus, I think if the captain's injured, he probably also needs a med kit.
Now, the bridges from one berg to another might run into the problem that these things are sort of free-floating in the water. The static image does not do it justice, but, things move. So if you were to build a bridge, it's very possible that one of the bergs upon which the bridge is built would just move out of position and it would then fall into the water. Just as a, having a holistic view.
Okay. Well, these people are sailors, yeah? I mean, I don't know if they've ever been to a frozen place, but I'll yell over, how do I get to you? I mean, maybe you say like as an idea, no, it's not unreasonable to ask them
You know
because
what?
I mean,
That's not unreasonable. Yeah, 1d20 plus 9.
I don't know. Talking to the cook once again. Shit. Well, could you feasibly sit on a piece of ice and try to use it like a float?
Like,
Probably not, right?
sit on it
I
and
assume
then
they're
row
not.
your way?
Yes, but I assume they are not really static, right? They're like slightly shifting the entire time.
Sure, but what is a ship but like a wooden iceberg that is oared? In theory, if you are on an iceberg and you have sufficient manpower and sufficiently long oars, you could row the iceberg. But as we know, icebergs have, like 10% on top and 90% below the surface. And that's a lot of mass to move, and it's also
Okay.
a lot of surface area to
I think
resist.
it's not that far. It's pretty dangerous. I think the best thing would probably be to just build a float and try to make it through there. So in this moment, Elaine feels a great deal of frustration because she remembers all the letters she sent to very politely and very firmly request somebody who knows more about fire building, somebody who's a survivalist, somebody who can tell her more about, surviving the icy colds of the Talons. I don't know, just somebody with a healing who's like in some form a healer, or maybe even just a herbalist. She started high with like a cleric would be nice, and they're like, oh no, they just laughing at her. And then she was like, okay, at least give me like a healer. And they said, no, you can have some first aid kits, we'll give you them. And she's like, all right, how about a tracker? And they're like, no, not a tracker. Somebody who's proficient in survival. No, a fire builder. Give me at least somebody. And they're like, no, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. So she's pretty frustrated at this because she really doesn't want to drown in the icy sea.
Yeah.
So I guess she calls one last time over and she said, we'll come back with help.
Bring food!
All right. And then I guess I will nod at Gregor and say, okay, we have to get back to camp as quickly as possible.
All right. Well, our party can return to camp and get there in about an hour. A little more because you gotta go all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how things have been in camp while you're away. Oh, it's been great! Yeah, no, it's actually going really well at camp. They've got a nice supply of firewood built up. Progress on the fort has been a little bit better than expected. It was a natural 20 on the camp status.
Amazing.
So, they've even started to build like a little roof for some sheltery areas to put that you can put like tents under. Everything's going great at camp. Better than you could possibly have expected.
Excellent. I will meet up with Willa and Carl, and I'll put a hand on both of their shoulders and I'll say, you have impressed me today. I'm very pleased with the progress the two of you made. Well done.
Carl will nod and jerk a thumb in Willa's direction and be like, well, she's the Fletcher. She put this shit together. Thank her.
Thank you, Willa. And on that note, have you ever built a float before?
A what?
A float. Something to cross the water when you don't have a ship around or a boat.
A raft?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So I'll wave over Gregor as well and say, we found the Alma, the shipwreck, and there are some survivors, which is great news, but we need to figure out a way to help them out. They're stranded at an iceberg and they have no boats to come over and cross the water, so they're just stuck there. They're hungry and they're hurt. Huh. There's a ton of ice around there. Swimming seems like a death sentence, so I'd really rather not try to swim over there. And I'm not experienced enough to know how to cross the water on icy plates, I guess.
Carl will quickly speak up. It's our duty as soldiers of the Empire to rescue those in need, those who have served us well. He would be doing Martha a great disservice if we did not immediately help these people.
Yes, that is entirely true. But we would need somebody who actually knows how to cross water like that. Do you guys have anybody in your platoons who have, like, who are, you know, especially knowledgeable in wood cutting, or have lived near a river, or have ever done anything similar to that? A shipbuilder? Something like that?
Gregor will speak up and say that all of these conscripts come from Coxport, which is an island in the bay right near the capital. Someone here has probably used a boat, or maybe had worked on a boat or something. They're sort of, you know, a mix of peasants and city folk and townies from that area. So Gregor will go in and amongst the soldiers, asking if anyone has any experience with shipbuilding or rafting or anything like that. And you have 21 folks under you. They each one has maybe a 5% chance. Oh, that actually works out really well. Roll me a d20. Good as high is good, low is bad.
16.
16 is not too terrible. You have a couple of folks here.
On a d20, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you've got some folks here who have been fishermen, or who were fishermen earlier, and they know their way around a ship pretty well and have even made some small repairs. You don't have anyone here that has actually built a boat or a ship, but you have people who have worked with them and been on them enough that they've got a better idea than you.
Okay, how much time until the sun goes down?
It's not even noon yet. Many
Okay,
hours.
so plenty of time. Has anybody spotted anything while we were gone in camp, or has everything been smooth sailing, no more incidents, nothing?
No incidents to report, sir.
All right. Okay. So how many people is it that have a slight idea how to build a raft?
There are 3 people who have, who were fishermen for this.
Okay. Okay. I guess I will gather them around and I'll say, okay, here's what we need to do, and I'll explain the situation to them. And I'll say, how long would you think it takes to build a raft that could cross the ice?
They think for a moment. Someone will say, well, we don't have anything but logs to work with, right? So we would just be strapping logs together with rope and floating it, and have oars so we could pull it, and we could get that done in a few hours. If we want to take the time to make proper oars, maybe by tomorrow? Oars would be nice. That way, if there's something that we can't push, you know, if the poles can't reach something, then we can still row. I don't know how to make an oar, though. Which Willa, who is a bow specialist who has fletching as a non-weapon proficiency, it's not the same as carpentry, but it is some level of woodworking skill. She puts forth that, given time, she could make a few oars, or, you know, a stand-in for an oar. Wouldn't be great. It'd be too heavy, but it would work.
Okay. Would you be able to make that until tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I suggest we pack some rations. Let me think. We need to pack enough to leave them with these people as well if we can't make it back. How many people did I spot on that boat? 4, 5?
Four fishermen.
I spotted 4, and one was the captain was injured, so he was under deck.
Oh, I'm sorry. The people on the iceberg, you saw 5 of them.
Okay, so it's at least 6 people, if not more. Not everybody was probably down there. How many rations do we have? 50. Okay, let's take... So I assume tomorrow we will leave with 3, 6, 7. I want Willa as well. 8, 9. We leave with 12 people tomorrow. The rest stays here. So these people need to bring their rations, and we'll bring 20. We can split them. We can bring like 25 rations between us for the boat's people. And I also want to take 1 med kit, I think.
Okay. So you're going to bring 12 people. They're all going to bring their rations plus an additional set.
Yes.
And a med kit.
Yes.
Okay. And bandages as well? I'm assuming.
Yep.
Assuming you're packing that with the med kit. Cool. All right.
Yep. And otherwise, let me have a look at the supplies real quick. We don't have them in Roll20, do we?
They do. If you go into the group gear character. Oh, I broke that. That didn't.
Oh, yeah, I found it. Yes, sorry. Okay. We bring ropes as well, of course. Ask them what they think how many ropes we need to build, like, a proper...
Yeah, you have 10 50-foot ropes.
Raft.
Willa says let's bring half of them, and we might not use them all.
Some wood axes, I assume, hatchets as well. Half of them, maybe?
Yep.
I mean, the camp is built, so that should be fine.
Yep.
And I guess some... If they didn't have water, they would have already died, but, you know. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Should be fine.
So you will spend the rest of the day in camp. Willa will fletch out a couple of oars as best as she can. Other people will take watch. You know,
And I think we will...
things.
There's 2 more things I want to do. First, I want to bury the corpse of that man who's infiltrated us, or who tried to reach us for help. We'll never know, you know?
If he was trying to reach you for help, he wouldn't have run.
I don't know. Some people, when they're desperate, make very unreasonable decisions sometimes, you know? Maybe... Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe if he wanted to approach and then he... I mean, I guess he could have tried just be like, hello, but... We'll see. I'll still bury him, though. It doesn't matter. Doesn't say that you can't bury deserters.
That's true. Okay, now, when you say bury... Normally when we bury people, we put them 6 feet under, but the ground here is frozen pretty solid, so...
I mean, we could just make a snow mound. It's not going to melt. Okay. You know, this is eternal winter, so burying is pretty much just... and I will give his short sword was in decent condition, correct?
His what?
Short sword?
Oh, yes.
He had a short sword.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so in the evening, when it is, you know, time to eat, I will take the short sword and I will walk over to the brave spearman who landed the critical hit on the polar bear during the day. And I'll say, what is your name, soldier?
Her name is Marta.
Marta?
Marta.
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 Okay.
That's a name.
Okay.
It's a real name. I know
Yeah,
someone
okay.
named that.
Yeah, it's just funny because you have Martha and Marta, and technically they're the same name, you know.
Are they?
So
Is that real? Is that true?
yeah,
One's just
yeah,
the Spanish version of Martha.
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I'd never thought of it that way though.
I'll go to her and I will turn.
That makes having Martha as a goddess even more hilarious.
Well, anyways, I will look around the campfire at the soldiers that are here, and I say, so today's been a long and eventful day, and I would like to take this moment to honor one soldier in particular, and that one is Marta here, who, like the rest of our brave troop, did not back down from the giant polar bear, but stood valiantly and landed a blow that was marvelous in the face of this great danger. So, Marta, I would like to thank you personally for being part of this expedition today, and I will hand her the short sword that I probably cleaned, you know, at some point during the day to make it look nice, and I'll hand it to her.
She will accept it and give you like a stiff, formal bow, and then pleasantly strap the short sword to her waist.
Excellent. And I'll say, okay, I hope there's not going to be any incidents tonight. We will need all our strength to save some people tomorrow and accomplish part of our mission. So make sure you get some rest and brace yourself for the march tomorrow.
Well, with that, why don't we bed down for the night? Characters can all take a rest except for those on watch, and we will come back on the other side of our break with a little bit more Rise of Drekis. Then. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rise of Drekis. It is a cold day here today. We're going to eat another set of rations, so we should be down to, 75, but we still have like 352 arrows. Lots of arrows. We're not going to run out. It's totally fine. Shall we take our 12? Which 12 would you like to take? Even between bows and spears? What's the dealio?
I think we're taking the three. We're taking the three fishermen. We're taking. Carl stays in camp. Willa comes with, and Gregor comes with.
Okay, Carl stays in camp. Willa and Gregor are coming with.
Yes. Three fishermen. What's the three fisher people? What platoon are they? Are they all spearmen? Are they bowmen? What are they when they don't fish?
Bow, spear, and spear. 2 spears and a bow. Actually, there were 4 fishermen. So 2 bows, 2 spears.
3 bows, 2 spears. I'm doing the same thing again. Then Carl, that's Willa.
Carl staying behind. This is Gregor.
Okay, that's Gregor and Willa. And then 5, 6. I'm taking. I think I want more of the bow people, maybe. And one more of these guys. Okay, that should be fine.
That's it. I thought you wanted to take 12.
Yeah, I thought about it. It's fine. We're cutting it down. We'll take these people. If Willa thinks, or if the people think that's enough to build a raft in time.
Yeah, it'll take a few hours to chop some things down. You said you wanted to bring half the axes and hatchets and leave the other half behind?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is fine. You can get some people chopping things down, some people hacking the limbs off, and then a few people standing guard. Probably just the
Yep, sounds good.
the NCOs, the sergeants can stand guard, while the other people will do all the labor, and you'll of course be there to stand guard too.
How did the oars turn out?
Wow, that's a great question. Not super great. They found like a wide piece of wood, and then they tried to hack it down into something that would work as an oar, but it's just a little thick. There was more time, they could thin it and make it small, but now it takes like 2 hands to operate one of these oars that is about yay thick, and then instead of being a nice thin paddle, it's sort of like a fat, thick, it's...
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not a great oar.
Okay, well...
Yeah.
All right.
It's not great, but
Willa still has a little bit of time.
Better than a stick. Yeah.
She also still has a little bit of time, so she might even out 1 to 2 points, in the time while she's there. Okay. Let's try to move back to that place where we've encountered the ship.
Okay. Well, would you roll me a D100?
7! Is low good or bad, Neal? 7 is excellent.
What is
it's the amount of polar bears we're going to meet today. Actually, Bear Island. Is it weather? What's the weather like? Apart from cold. Wind speed? Maybe?
Is it?
I'm just trying to save some people.
Could you roll me a D8?
Four.
Our party that's out. Now, the spot where you're going is a little bit more than an hour. It's about an hour from the beach, which is maybe 30 minutes, or 10 minutes from where you fought the polar bear, which is maybe 20 or 30 minutes from camp. So we're looking at like an hour and 45 minutes to get out there. Not a terrible amount of time. But as you're setting out, this ordinary day out here in Arrow Island, in the cold, you'll notice that the winds begin to die down a little bit, and you get this gentle, pleasant snowfall, or gentle snow. Have a gentle snowfall track. This sounds more like rainfall, but this will do for snowfall. Snow's a lot quieter, but I guess you can't really make a track that it sounds like snow falling, because it wouldn't sound like anything. But the party, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10 of you set out on your little journey, going maybe an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes away. And you get back down to that beach area, and the snowfall starts. And you get over towards that coastal cliff area where you can see the ship on the iceberg. But the snow is beginning to come down a lot more heavily now. It's like thick, those of you who haven't been snowy regions, not all snowfall is the same. Sometimes it's little tiny particles that are really, really cold and frozen. Sometimes it's sort of big fat particles. Sometimes the snow is like just on the edge of frozen. So if it hits something that's not completely frozen, it'll like melt right away and become sort of slushy. What we have here are sort of thick, heavy snow clumps, but everything is cold. Everything, even like the outside of your clothes, is already sort of frozen. Your chain mail really easily conducts heat away, and so everything here is nice and icy, and you're getting these like big, thick snowflakes that are falling down, and it's all clumping together. And by the time you get out here, everyone is carrying like an extra 3 or 4 pounds of snow and ice on them that is, getting brushed off or pushed off from time to time. And you make it to this spot, and you can barely see the boat out there between just like the screen of falling snow. None of the people are outside of the ship right now. They must all either be inside or have fallen into the sea and died or something, because none of them are visible.
Yeah, but you wouldn't stay outside in the ice cold snow just, waiting for forever, so it makes sense. Well, I guess we'll just have to get to work. I don't think we have another choice.
Okay. The party sets to work, chopping down nearby trees. Willa starts to lay out ropes. Plan is to knock down these trees, scrape off any other side branches, and then use Willa, who has a rope use proficiency, to bind the logs together nice and tightly and form, depending on how much time and the trees that you can find, a section of logs that is maybe 5 feet wide and maybe 6 or 8 feet long if possible. And if there's time and rope and appropriate trees, maybe like put a second layer of smaller things underneath to give it a little bit more buoyancy so it can just sit a little higher in the water, because you don't want that water lapping up onto your ankles or anything.
Right. Can I support Willa in her rope,
You have a rope use
action?
Proficiency?
Yes.
Oh, well then absolutely. That can be your job instead of hers. And
Well, she's probably better at it. I don't know, what is her dex? Let me check. Let me have a quick look. She has 14 dex.
Yes.
So she's probably better at it.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's fine.
Well, another half hour begins to pass, and snow continues to fall a little bit thicker, and the winds begin to pick up just a little bit. It's not falling straight down on you. It's now sort of coming at a bit of an angle. Skies
What does the
overhead
sky look like?
Yeah, they're dark and cloudy. I mean, of course they are. It's snowing. You couldn't have... I don't think you can have blue skies in snowfall.
I'm a little worried. Have there ever been reports about proper snowstorms on these islands? Or is that, like a blizzard strength snowstorm? Or does it not get that windy at least?
The weather is a substantial danger on this island. It's one of these abandoned places that no one comes to because there's nothing of value here. It's inhospitable. I mean, technically, there's like some polar bears, so if you want some polar bear skins, you could come out here, but the islands aren't that big. They don't have that much life on them. So there's not a lot of reports of what it's like here, but those that have been to snowy, wintry regions have reported, sometimes the weather gets really nasty.
To be fair, if the weather does get really nasty, it doesn't matter if you're in a tent or out, like if it's a proper blizzard, then I don't think it changes that much except for the snow that falls on you. So
But you didn't bring tents for your people.
No, we don't have tents because they are in the camp, right? Like they are put up there.
Yeah, I mean, they
think
can always be broken down and moved if you want, but...
Right, well, not right now. I think we will try to make a lean-to. So we do have the axes, right? We have been chopping trees, so I think we will try to, when the people are done chopping for the raft, try to build a lean-to that we can at least shelter from and put up against the cliffside, maybe a little bit. There's no cave or such thing that I can see, like, to the left or to the right here.
Not immediately, but you could send out scouts to look if you want.
Sure, I'll send out, well, how many people can I send out that are not immediately building the raft right now?
Well, I mean, you can use logs for rafts or logs for lean-tos, but I don't know if you can do both at the same time. So if you're not rafting, then you're not needing all your people for that.
Okay, I will take, shit. It's fine, I will take one spearman and one Bowman, and I'll go myself.
To do what? To search for caves?
To see if there's a cave anywhere nearby, yeah.
So the three of you are all heading in the same direction, or are two of them going one way and you're going with the other?
We're splitting up. I'm going Are we splitting up? It is snowing. It's windy. No polar bear is going to walk around through the snowstorm, being like, I wonder what I could eat today. No, it's fine. We'll split up. I'll go to the west, and the other two will go to the east. And I'll tell them to not go further than like half an hour because
polar bears are known for their fear and discomfort in the cold. Yeah.
That's not what I mean, Neal. They are not just like, they are not absolutely tremendously stupid. So we'll try.
Okay. People, I'm looking. Could you roll me a D3? And a D10 plus 6.
Well.
All right, so half an hour, right? Everyone will be back in half an hour. You're going one way. These two are going another way. Everyone else is staying put to build a lean-to, and the raft is just being abandoned for the time being?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Day's luck. Oops.
Oh my god, it's not good if it falls off the table. That's not good luck.
If it doesn't land on the table, you have to re-roll it. We never, ever use floor dice. It is a bad precedent to set. Ah. Everyone can meet back up in half an hour. You find something that could be considered a cave, but it definitely couldn't house all 10 of your people. It's more of like a rocky overhang under which you could put 4 people in sort of close quarters, but it wouldn't fit all 10.
All right. How's the weather changed in those 30 minutes?
The wind has picked up a little bit. The flakes have gotten smaller, but more of them.
How many people could be sheltered in that lean-to?
Well, if we're using 6 to 8 foot logs and we're putting them at 5-degree angle, then we're getting like 5 feet of space down there, 5 feet high over there, and so 5. Not great. After half an hour, your lean-to could fit maybe 5 people fairly comfortably. And it's just a lean-to, right? So it'll protect you from the top, but the sides are still pretty open, and air can just flow nice and freely through it. It'll keep the snow off.
Well, if you build a lean-to like this, right, against this side, then you would be secured from at least this side and like this side. So there's like less wind coming through if you were to build it like that.
That's true. That's a great way to build it.
And that's how I assume we would build it. All right. But even the final version could only fit like half of us.
Well, that's where it is now. You could continue adding logs forever, right? If we consider each of these squares is what people need for fighting space, you can easily fit twice as many people in these squares, just for even close quarters, and you could pack 3 times as many people in these squares if they're just trying to...
If they share them. Yeah.
If they're really huddling together. So
yep.
We have 10 people, so let's just, you need 4 squares to be covered, essentially, and then everyone can cram in real tightly.
Okay. We will keep working on the lean-to for now. I mean, it might not get worse. I know nothing about the weather. Where I come from, it is not that windy and not that snowy. So yeah.
Right.
The other two that returned, they didn't find anything on the other side. I figured.
They found nothing.
All right. Okay.
Right. Right. You can build yourself a little lean-to here, and it's a good thing that you stopped working on the raft because the weather will continue to pick up and get worse. And within an hour, the wind and the snow are too much to continue the work. People are beginning to like lose their grip and slip and fall down in the snow, getting snow in their boots or down their shirts, which is just a nightmare to deal with when you don't have a nice, warm, dry place to rest and a fire to dry out your clothes in. And so everyone will pack together in this little shelter.
And huddle.
And huddle. And huddle.
And here's hoping that hurricanes don't last for several days. All right.
Well, you did well. On your D3, you rolled a 2, which is a 1-day blizzard. And it will blizzard for the rest of the day and on into the evening. There's not much to do about setting watch. Everyone's huddled in one area with like one rather large exit. Some branches have been brought to lay over the top, and as you're, chopping these trees, there's lots of branches and they're little, frilly, frawny bits, and those have been sort of leaned against the front to create as much shelter as possible. But there's not much point in keeping watch, so everyone can kind of rest and slowly fall asleep in the freezing cold, huddled together. The 10d6 that you rolled was for the next day's weather, which luckily is not a blizzard. The party will wake up the next day, and you did bring an extra day of food with you, so congratulations. Thanks. And day 6 is actually nice again. The snows have stopped falling. The winds have died down. By the time everyone gets up and sort of shakes the snow off the front and opens pushes out the branches, 2 things that you'll see right away. First off, it's a nice day. It's not blue skies. It's still gray and overcast, and it's still freezing. But otherwise, it's pleasant. There's no wind, there's no snowfall. The other thing you'll notice is that even though it snowed a lot yesterday, and the top of your lean-to is covered in like a good foot of snow, there's not like a mountain of snow in front of you. It's still only, a few inches to the surface. You're not like barricaded in. It's been snowing all day, and they're all day yesterday and through the night. Your roof has a foot of snow on it, but the ground in front of you has just about as much snow as it did yesterday.
Can you still see the track? Like, this seems like an insane question, but can you still see the tracks we made yesterday?
Nope, they're gone.
Or are they covered up? Okay. So at least the snow doesn't, magically disappear from the ground. It fills up the holes that were there, but it doesn't pile up for some reason. Okay. Man, imagine being a wizard. Okay.
Ugh.
We will continue our work on the raft as, I ponder how the weather even works in this place. Is the raft still there?
Well, I think you just used all the logs that you would make the raft for the lean-to.
Okay,
right?
That's fair. Yep. Yeah. So we will disassemble the lean-to, I guess.
You'll disassemble and turn the lean-to into a raft rather than making and cutting new logs for a new raft.
Well, okay, if I look at the sky, you said it's still gray though, right?
Still gray, but no wind, no snowfall.
Yep, no, we'll disassemble. It's fine. We'll disassemble and make the raft from the lean-to.
All right. Well, the raft gets made in no time at all because you've got all the logs already. It's just the 2 of you tying everything together and everyone else sort of standing around and watching. Then you can plop it off the cliffs here, which are about 15 feet tall, maybe 20 feet tall. How do you You just chuck it over and then lower people on ropes, or people jump down onto the raft? How do you...
There's no way to get the raft, like there's no, more beachy area where you could let the raft down that we've seen into either direction, going to the left or right hand side.
I mean, maybe like 2 miles back to the left side, back the way you came.
Okay, and how at the flattest point, how steep is the way down to the water?
Like 15 feet.
That is fucking steep. Well, we do have rope, so I think we will attach rope to the float itself and lower that in, and then afterwards lower people like one after another onto the float. How many people would you need to steer such a thing? Steer. My bad. Steer such a.
You'll need minimum of 2 people to operate the raft. That would be to row on either side, and then because each of these oars is going to take 2 hands because they're bulky and unwieldy and they're heavy. If you had good oars and a decent raft, it could probably be manned by 1 person, but here you're going to need 2 people to manage this properly. And considering its size and everything, you could probably, once you get it in the water and once you start lowering people onto it and you can see how much it sinks, you can tell that you could probably fit 4 people on this without too much trouble. So 2 rowers and then taking 2 people off the ship at a time.
Okay.
That should be pretty safe. If you wanted to do it more quickly, there would be a higher chance that something would go wrong.
No, I think we're being very slow and methodical about this, right? Like we're carefully lowering the float and checking, is this stable in itself or does it already sink? And if that looks fine, we'll, have the first person on a rope go down, stand on it, and make sure they don't sink immediately. So we do take the time to figure out if this is workable or not. Do the people who have built the raft have a swimming proficiency? You said they were fishermen, right? I mean, probably not in the ice, but...
The fishermen... 3 of them know how to swim, 1 of them does not.
Okay, then we'll take the 3 who know how to swim. And they can try crossing, I guess. Would the float hold rope, or would that be too heavy? Like to have rope on it? To transport rope should be fine, right? If it's 3 people on rope?
Yeah, because let's say the raft can hold 600 pounds at this point, safely. That is about 4 people. It's actually, 4 people without their armor and without their heavy weapons and everything. Rope weighs... Which is it?
I can tell you, I think. Isn't it in the group gear? What? Does that have weight? Yeah, no, it's not in here.
This is thin rope. So 8 pounds per 50 feet. So yeah, you could easily put 3 people and some rope on it and then bring back 1 person at a time.
Yes, and I'll explain to the people who are getting on the raft that in case something happens and one of them gets pushed off the raft, that they need to be very slow and methodical about it, because if they start panicking, and then they will all fall off. So in case anything happens, they do have rope there, right? And then they need to slowly adjust their weight so they don't all flip over the second they're trying to pull somebody on. Okay.
All right, easy peasy. Well, it's an easy process. You've figured it all out. We just need just 1 successful roll from you. Just 1 did things go really poorly. So you're going to want to roll a d20. High is good, low is bad. Anything below a 5 is real bad.
Yes.
Oh, it goes swimmingly. Yeah, it goes actually really, really fantastically. You grab the first person and they paddle on back, and you pull them up with the ropes, and it goes great. And then they go back for the next person, and while that first person is here, you can chat with them. This is just regular seaman number 7. Their name is... It is Steve. Steve comes off the boat, off the iceberg.
All right. What does Steve look like?
Well, he is 155 pounds and maybe like 6 feet tall. So he's, super underfed at this point. He's a little scrawny. He's got like a well-grown-in beard. He's got that sort of like dry flakiness across the face of someone who is maybe not getting all the water and all the nutrients that they need. And he's very grateful to be back on land.
Okay, I'll sling my winter blanket around him as he comes over and say, "Okay, Steve, what is going on? Why did you crash into an iceberg?"
I mean, we didn't mean to. No one means to crash into an iceberg. That would be a titanic mistake. Who are you?
I say, my name is Elaine Pentolin. We've been sent here by the Empress.
Oh, thank the gods. You came back.
How was your captain? Sorry.
I was not great. Not real not great. Took a wound during the fight, and been slow going.
Right, we'll bring him back to camp so he can rest up there and be fed appropriately, all of you. How long have you been out there?
45 days.
And I take it the others have abandoned you. Or did you crash? Did they crash? Did you crash on your way to the island?
Well,
on the way
story.
back. All right. You know what, Steve? You should probably hold your breath and tell us the story once we get back, huh? You seem pretty exhausted. I'll pat his shoulder. And I worriedly squint back out to see how the rest of the people are doing.
Well, one at a time, they will be pulled out. There are 6 people total, 5 able-bodied folks who are all half-starved, and they're all wounded, actually, and 1 sick captain who has a huge wound across him that has been bandaged as best as possible, but is like clearly infected, and it smells like the worst French cheese you've ever came across. And you're not a super experienced soldier. You know that polar bear was your first real life or death fight in the world, but these sergeants with you, these non-commissioned officers who have been doing this professionally for a little while, you can see as soon as this guy is hoisted back up on the cliffs, they take a look at that wound that this guy's not going to make it. The captain is not long for this one.
Right. Is it possible to talk to him, or is he, in a fever dream, in and out?
No, you can talk to him, but he's quiet. There's not a lot of energy. You can gather from the other folks that this wound started to heal at first. It was pretty nasty, and it was getting better. But then when food started to become scarce, it stopped healing as well. And then maybe a week ago, it started to get bad again. And now it's in this position.
Right. I guess I'll lean over him and I'll say, Captain, I will move your brave men and women over to my camp. Do you want us to carry you?
I can't
And I look at him
walk.
with a grave expression. I said, I know. Do you think you can hold it together for about an hour?
The head
Yeah?
moves slightly. Mm-hmm.
Would it help if we were to use the medkit on him here? Like try to, put on new bandages, make sure, I don't know, that at least he doesn't lose too much blood while we transport him?
Well, the wound's definitely stopped bleeding by now.
Alright. It's just festering, I guess.
Yeah, it's just sort of, when someone takes the time to lift the makeshift bandages that they've made, you can see that what is a series of small injuries and then like one large injury across the ribs is sort of split open. It's all red, and part of it that's like sticking up is clearly like blackened and blued, like a little bit frozen, but also just sort of rotting. The necrosis is already set in. And there's these like long blue lines that look like they're the veins underneath the skin that run from the wound like in all directions. Like, the guy's not gonna bleed to death unless you help him.
He'll probably die of a sepsis at some point soon, TM.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything important I need to know before we start transporting you?
No. What's important?
Did he bring a logbook or something like that from his ship?
The captain did not bring anything. He was too wounded. But it does appear that one of these other sailors did grab the captain's journal from the book, from the ship.
They didn't grab a spyglass by chance, did they?
Do you ask?
Yes.
They will tell you that the spyglass was taken.
Smart people. All right. I nod. I say, all right. I'll take the book for now if you don't mind.
Yep. And everyone heads back. Just to be clear, the raft gets pulled back up on shore and disassembled so that the rope can be taken back to camp. Now, the rope is an extra 20 pounds of snow and ice because it's been in the water, and it's a huge pain in the ass to like pull the raft out of the water with all these people and then break the rope and ice off of it. So you won't get back until sundown because of all the time it takes to disassemble the raft, which is
did we use all the rope we had?
No, it took 3 50-foot coils to hold the raft together, and then 2 50-foot coils to lower it. So you could abandon the raft and lose 3 out of your 10 ropes if you wanted. And that would get you back to camp, in the very early afternoon instead of right around sundown. I don't know how you want to value resources versus time out here.
Okay, we could. Okay. The difficulty is that on this island, everything is so close together. So if anybody checks on something, they could pretty much do whatever they want still in the same day. There's no such thing as really hiding things. Okay, we'll abandon the raft. I'd like to lean it against the cliff here, at least.
Okay.
And then I think we'll just try to move back quickly because the captain is in a bad situation. I don't know if anybody's looked at us. We're pretty vulnerable right now with, the situation we're in, and we don't have any more rations for any more hurricanes or whatever, so I think we'll book it for now. Okay. And there is a chance that we will get back for that raft, so yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Well, you can bring everyone back to camp. You can be brought in. Now, you don't have tents for everyone. You've got tents for your people. You've got room for a few extra folks in yours. How would you like to deal with housing the... Do we have spare tents? Let me see. They're blankets, packs, and water skins.
No, we
spare
have
tents.
7 tents, right? For 4 people, that would be 28.
And you are now
And we are
31 until the captain of the Alma dies, and then you'll be 30. So you can squeeze an extra 2 people somewhere, right? One of these 4-person tents can just get a random sailor thrown into it.
I guess so.
Comfortable. Maybe they can rotate whoever's on watch. That's a free bed.
True. Actually, I think if you come up with a good watch rotation, that should be possible.
Yeah.
If half of the people always, take watch anyways.
I mean, you want, at least, how many people do you keep on watch at night?
Last time we had 12. No, sorry. We had 3. We had 4 watches per shift, I believe. 4 people
Perfect.
who watched per shift.
Yeah. Well then. You are back in camp. You can bring people together. And you can interview the surviving sailors. Who would you like to start with? You essentially have 5 able-bodied seamen and 1 dying captain.
Right. I would like to... How long does it take to read the logbook? How thick is that? The captain's book.
Yeah, you can thumb to the beginning of the journey. The logbook covers more than this last mission, right? This is just the logbook day after day. So, the first maybe 100 pages are previous expedition or previous things, and then you can find the spot where they talk about setting sail for Whiteshore with the 7th Mixed Infantry.
Okay, can I just read the last... Are the last few days all, I'm dying, I'm starving, I'm dying, it's cold, I'm dying, where does it end approximately?
The last entry in the logbook is actually, we should be arriving at Whiteshore in the morning.
So he didn't write into it anymore afterwards?
Yeah. Whatever happened, the last entry in the book is we will be getting to Whiteshore in the morning.
Would they be getting to Whiteshore from, distance-wise? I mean, I've sailed around here with the other captain. Does it make sense that he didn't have the chance to write into the logbook the same day if he was hurt? Or is it
Follow what you mean.
I'm just...
you write in the logbook when you've got time, right? So maybe you don't wake up first thing in the morning and make your log entry.
Yes, but he didn't indicate in any way that people were upset or that, the crew on the ship was getting restless. It seemed pretty okay. We're we're fine, we'll arrive in Whiteshore in the morning, right?
Okay, no. So you're just gonna you sit down to read those pages of the journey up until Whiteshore. And as you're sifting through and reading these things, you'll see that it's not that long. The journey from Bontheris to Whiteshore should really only be 3 to 5 days, depending on weather. And in the beginning, it's fine. The first day, log is normal, talks about bringing people on, bringing on supplies, setting sail, weather's pretty fine. Second day on the logbook says that there's been a lot of sort of arguing coming from low decks, and when the captain has gone down to see what was happening, all of the soldiers sort of stood at attention. The knight in charge of the 7th Mixed Infantry, Kel Sira Shohan, she approached the captain and said that it was fine. It's a matter of infantry and sorting out our objectives and our responsibilities, and it's none of the captain's business. The captain's just a sea taxi. The entry goes on to talk about this is not the first time that the captain has been treated as a servant or a taxi by the Drekisian ground forces. Worth the money the very handsome amount of money they're making in order to do this, but it's a little frustrating dealing with these self-important noble knights who don't realize that their lives are in the sea captain's hands, and that the sea captain should know everything that's happening on the boat for the sake of everyone's safety. And there's sort of just a little passage complaining about the disorderly conduct. On the third day, or the third log for the third day, pretty clear that there is some sort of major disturbance going on down below decks. There's been shouting and arguing, and sailors have overheard conversation relating to whether or not this landing that they're going to make is what should be done. There seems to be a discrepancy with following orders that they think bad orders. El Sira Shohan has been very insistent that orders are orders, and whether or not you like it, this is what we're here to do. But it's all very insular. Every time Euclid tries to go down and talk to El Sira Shohan, doesn't work out well, and Captain gets stonewalled. And what are you going to do? You know, she's got plate mail and an arming sword, and she's a 6th level knight from a good family who is not listening. So you know what? We'll get to White Shore tomorrow. Get there in the morning, see it shortly after sunrise, and this short journey will be over. Hopefully they'll be better when we pick them back up. That's it.
I let out a sad sigh and snap the book shut, I guess. And then I trudge out towards... Let's do Steve. I'll
Right.
walk over to Steve.
Yep, you find Steve in one of these tents next to a little fire, warming up, munching on some of your rations.
Steve, what is your position on your boat, on the Alma?
Able-bodied seaman.
All right. Okay, well... Have you... So, can you just tell me in very few sentences what happened to your boat? And what happened with the soldiers that were on it?
We were making preparations to land at White Shore. It's clear there was an argument occurring between the Drekisian captain and the mercenaries. There had been tensions rising, and as everyone came out to see White Shore in the morning, the cleric, Mother Elise, cleric of Mathis, said something, pointed something out to the knight, and the knight walked up to the captain and said to turn back and head back for Bontheris, that we're not going to make it to the White Shore. And the mercenary commander, a man by the name of Yak, drew his sword and leveled it at the captain, the Drekisian captain, and said something like, we were contracted for this thing, and we're going to do this thing, whether you like it or not. When Yak drew his sword, Sira Shohan drew her sword, and all of a sudden there was fighting. We sailors got the hell out of the way. I don't really know why, but blows were exchanged. Yak was killed. Sira Shohan was wounded. A bunch of soldiers on both sides were injured. In the end, the mercenaries surrendered, and the Kissian soldiers and knights won out, but they told us to turn around and head back for Bontheris. We did. But it was while the knights and soldiers were arresting and trying to, tie up the mercenaries that second scuffle broke out. Someone, bunch of sailors died. Bunch of mercenaries and soldiers were killed. Sarah Shohan got pushed overboard, sank into the sea with her armor. Hell, Heidi Siki run through, and we didn't have enough people to steer the ship. We were down to the 5 of us, and the captain was wounded, and it takes more than 5 to operate the vessel, and we tried to get to Bontheris, but we got pushed out to sea. Try as we might, we couldn't. Floated for a few days, and up down here. When we saw the islands, we tried to turn towards them as best as possible. Got stuck between some icebergs and in some ice floes, and then maybe a week later, when things freed up enough that we could move again, close to shore, ran aboard another iceberg, which then rotated and lifted the ship up, and that's where you saw us. We've been sort of floating around the island since then, in some sort of island-sized gyre, surviving knights, mercenaries, and conscripts. Took the remaining boats, the longboats, put themselves ashore. We stayed. We didn't want anything to do with them. Last head count, it was the cleric, 2 of the younger knights, and about 20 soldiers and 10 mercenaries that made it ashore. We haven't seen them. Well, I mean, we've seen them walking by occasionally, and we see their lights up on the mountain, but we can talk to them in 3 fortnights, 2 fortnights.
So they didn't come and try to support you or save you or do anything. You just said we don't want anything to do with them, and that was that.
Captain said we shouldn't throw our lot in with mutineers, and that the Queen would send someone to find us.
Well, your captain is a good man, Steve.
He is a good man.
I'll pat his back. What about the cleric? Did they go willingly?
Yeah. Once Kel Shohan pushed overboard, the Mother Elise took charge. She spearheaded the whole thing. She kept talking. I mean, we were with them for a while, and she came to us and talked to us. Tried to convince us to join with them. She kept talking about the corruption of the Drekisian Empress, how she consorts with monsters and demons, and isn't the same Empress who started off the war, that she's gonna take us all down to hell with her. I mean, maybe from a cleric of Malchus I'd understand that, but cleric of Mathis makes me uncomfortable. God of knowledge, a cleric of the God of knowledge should really know something, should know things. You'd expect them to be telling the truth. We've spent the last month wondering if it's true. Do you know anything about the Queen consorting with demons?
I scowl a little bit and I say, Steve, I think what you people went through would make anybody speculate about many things. All I know is that the Queen, the Empress, has sent us to come here and look for you people. And one of the main objectives was to make sure that if anybody on your boat was still alive, that we would come and make sure you stayed safe. And that doesn't sound like a demon to me. On the other hand, and I look around with all like the snow and ice and I say, I mean, I don't know what the cleric promised you, but this already looks like hell to me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really glad to hear you say that, because we've been wondering if we were just going to be starving to death because we backed the wrong horse. But a gold dragon wouldn't side with an empire that consorted with abominations or demons or creatures from... Yeah. Gold dragons are good, right? They wouldn't willingly do anything wrong. And if there's a gold dragon supporting the Empire of Drekis, then I don't know what Mother Elise is up to. She was really agitated. I think she's the one who started the mutiny.
Is there any chance any of the other sailors have overheard something, maybe had some contact with anybody from the other crew and would have more insight, overheard something maybe? You know, I'm not mad if your soldiers listening onto any talks. I'm not here to judge you people. I'm just here to find out more about the people who actually deserted us.
You can ask the others, but we've had nothing but each other for 45 days. We've talked it to death 100 times over. I'd be surprised if anyone was holding anything out.
I agree with you. I think it is strange that a cleric of Mathis would act like this, but on the other hand, war brings out the strangest traits in people. I've seen a few things in the city in my time, and I can tell you that perfectly sane people will lose their mind and their temper when it comes to facing death, you know?
So, where's your ship?
Well, our ship has dropped us off, and they will return in 24 days to pick us up in our camp. And until then, we need to figure out what exactly happened to Mother Elise and the others.
Well, they were mad, and they tried to mutiny, and they killed most of the mercenaries, and they ended up here.
Yeah, and I do believe your word, but I also think these people need to be punished for the situation, the pain that they brought to you. And for, I nod over to where the captain is in a tent, I said, and what they do to good, honest people that just try to be loyal and, you know, do the best for their motherland. You can't just have that go unpunished.
Well, if it helps, we can see a light up on the mountains at night, and I think it's there during the day too. There's something near the top of the mountain. Illuminates the southeast quadrant every night. Even in a blizzard, you can still see a little bit of the flickering light out there.
Would you be able to see that light if you were... Well, you were on a ship, right? Do you think it's some kind of beacon? Similar to a lighthouse? A light that you could see...
I've seen the lighthouse in Stoneport, and that's a good beacon. This ain't anything like that. This looks more like just a fire, like a primitive beacon.
Right. So we've had one intruder come to our camp, and they were emaciated, and they had a short sword. And they didn't look particularly well. You were not missing any people that left from your boat and came to shore by themselves.
Shakes his head. During the second bout of fighting, we tried to help the soldiers. Thought the mercenaries were, and they're foreigners, right? They're Solemese. The knights were arresting them, but in the fighting, a bunch of sailors got stabbed. Didn't make it through. 5 of us are all that's left. None of us went with them.
So, just so I understand it correctly, there were Solemese people and Drekisian people that left together. Is that correct?
The mercenaries were Solemese, hired mercenaries. Yeah, from across the sea. The soldiers and knights were all Drekisian.
But they still joined in, though. They still left with the hired mercenaries, yeah? The ones that survived?
Well, at sword point, yeah. I don't know if they had much of a choice.
How many would you say were held at sword point?
I think about 10 of them made it out, of the original 30 or so. And maybe 20 of the Drekisian soldiers and 2 of the knights. Cleric.
So 20 Drekisian soldiers, 2 young knights, but he doesn't know who of them were mercenaries and how many were soldiers? Like proper
no.
Drekisians?
20 Drekisian 0th level conscript soldiers, 10 second level Solemese mercenaries,
Okay.
and 2 4th level
2
Drekisian knights. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they stripped the mercenaries of their arms and armor before they went ashore. They're all back in on the wreckage of the Alma.
Right. Okay. And you didn't see where they went, but we only have that light upon the mountain that we can
Well, every now and
probably
then
establish as a base.
every now and then we can see a little bit of movement on shore. As I said, we've been floating in a gyre around this island, so we've seen it from all different sides, and occasionally we'll see some movement on the ground, but consistently, whenever we're on the south or east side, we can see the light from the mountaintop at night.
Neal, just so I'll look at the map. We haven't been to the southern east side, right? We have been like northwest-ish and like middle west-ish, but we actually haven't been all the way to the southern east,
Yeah,
right?
this is where your camp is. And down here is where you saw the ship, like off of this coast here. So, yeah, during the nighttime you can't see this quadrant, but from here apparently, down here at least they can see it.
Have you noticed anything else? Anything peculiar while you were going around the island?
Yeah. There's this really big bird. Lives on the next island over. Comes by every now and then. It's huge. Looks like you could pick up an elephant.
It probably can.
But, we see it circle sometimes, see it dive down into the water sometimes. I haven't seen it land on this island.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it stick to a certain, do you always spot it in the same area, or does it, turn up anywhere around the
Shakes his
island?
head. It comes out of the clouds, you see it for a little while, it disappears again. I don't know.
All right. Oh, let's hope it finds enough fish or other animals to stay entertained. I've seen a giant polar bear can go for that one for all I care.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. You've been more than helpful.
Steve will go back and chill. And we're going to take our second break. And when we come back, we'll see what the party is up to. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rise of Drekis. Our party has a better idea of what's going on. It appears that there indeed was a mutiny, and the cleric was indeed involved. And maybe the mercenaries aren't the bad guys? Maybe it's the Drekisian soldiers? Were we expecting this? Does this track with what you were thinking internally? I know you had been told by the officers and all the other Drekisian higher-ups that, of course, the mercenaries are the reason that there were problems. And now Steve has told you that it might be the other way around. Is Steve more trustworthy than, Richard, what's his name? Richard Marshall and the other Drekisian commanders and nobility?
Well, you can be inherently a good person and then still succumb to someone who is like powerful in a situation of despair, It's a very tricky situation, I feel. I'm very confused and unhappy with what is going on with this cleric of Mathis, who's supposed to be knowledgeable and I figured she was abducted and dragged away, from by these Solemnese people, but it looks like she spearheaded this mission they are on, and she was like against landing, and now she's taken them away and led them apparently to the top of the mountain. So I'm not sure what is going on, but that doesn't sound like I want to say simple deserters mission, that there seems to be something else here.
Mm-hmm.
Very strange.
Okay.
Very strange.
Well, you're in charge. What are you going to do?
We don't have to roleplay through it, but I will question all the sailors, and I'll also question the captain in case he's up for it. And I will try to figure out if there's anybody who's overheard anything more, like any conversation that the others might have missed. And if they can tell me what they were offered for leaving the boat. Like if anybody has an idea what the next step is, if there's any plan that's unfolding. Or if they're just like, we're just going to the mountaintop and then we'll see what happens. Or if they were like, well, if you come with us, then, this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like a lot of the mercenaries were killed in the fighting. That when it came time to assemble for the day to get onto Whiteshore, the soldiers showed up in their chainmail and their armor and their spears and lined up on the decks, and the mercenaries didn't care wear their armor on the deck because why would you, if you're going to be put on a small boat between sea and land, why would you wear your armor so you could die? And so when it came time for fighting between the two groups, the mercenaries were cut down pretty fast. After that, ship tried to turn around, head back. A little bit of a scuffle. More deaths across the board. And at the end of the day, once everyone got trapped on ice floes and was circling the island, the cleric made the very good point that deserters are dealt the death penalty, and you're all deserters now, whether you like it or not. You'd better join us. Otherwise, you're just going to sit and float around this island forever on this broken ship. and you can just die that way, like the sailors who don't want to come with us. So join us on shore. I'm a cleric of the god of knowledge. We'll be fine. Trust me, I have a plan. We'll get you back to Solemn. I promise. And that's what everyone else has sort of overheard. At least, they could talk to you for hours. They could talk to you for days about things that they've overheard. So I'm giving you sort of like the cliff notes that they think might be important. But if you let them talk at you, we could sit here for another 2 hours and we could tell you every little detail. So what do you want to know? Anything else?
Okay. Did they have the impression that people, especially the soldiers, were not surprised at all? You said they were all up there in their armor and everything, so they didn't seem to be surprised when the kerfuffle and everything went down, correct?
No, tensions were already pretty high between the two groups. Yeah.
Did anybody overhear why they didn't want to land at Whiteshore?
Not at the time, but afterwards, the cleric really tried to convert the sailors, apparently. She made these sweeping statements about the queen working with demons, conversing with monsters, dealing with sort of dark and evil forces, and that the goodly Drekisian kingdom was quickly turning into an evil empire, and that didn't want to be party to the upcoming terrors and horrors. It'd be better to leave now. That was her pitch in a nutshell.
Neal, how is Solemn doing these days?
He's been a little bit distracted with this big war that's been happening in Arcadia. Little tiny bits of information have come back. It appears that there is Solemn has also been engaged in a rather large war. Solemn's this like huge continent to the east, and it's been engaged in a pretty big war. The largest force out there, and the force that is closest to Arcadia, is this newly fomented kingdom or empire that sort of has banded together under the flag of Vorasi, the goddess of sort of death and destruction and guiding you to the afterlife, sort of the opposite of Martha, goddess of life and creation. Vorasi's a complicated character. She's like the Grim Reaper who helps you get from one side to the other. So she's not necessarily an evil god, but hers is the domain of death and moving from one world to the other. Not bad, but she does deal with some pretty heavy issues. That's what you know about Solemn right now. Big empire, not a lot of contact with them.
Except for sometimes signing contracts with people, with mercenaries to work for our army, I guess.
Occasionally, there's a little bit of commerce back and forth, and the Drekisian army is understaffed and overstretched. They've lost a lot of people, and now they control 2.5 times the territory, so manning all of the positions is hard. That's the reason that you haven't been able to get the clerics and the medics and the trackers that you wanted, is just the number of available people are minimal, and you get what there is room for.
Right. Okay. So, I know the weather is very challenging and a little bit random on this island, but have any of the sailors gotten a slight grasp on what the sky looks like before a snowstorm hits, or is anybody better at figuring out how the weather works or what the patterns are like, since I've been here for 2 months? Because if we set out to the mountain, I don't want to go there and be hit by a sleet storm, after 4 hours.
Well, sadly, weather prediction in this age is shit. In the real world, it wasn't until the 1950s that the very first weather prediction techniques were started, and those were still absolute shit. And it wasn't until like the 70s or the 80s that you had like some level of weather prediction, and it wasn't until like the late 80s, early 90s that you had like reasonable predictions, and it wasn't until the early 2000s that you had like reliable weather predictions. So in this time, best weather prediction you can do is to look at the sky and make a good guess. And if the clouds are dark, it's generally bad. And if they're light, it's generally not as bad. But there's not really any method of solid
Let me
prediction.
ask differently. What was the longest snowstorm they've experienced?
4 days.
Okay. Right. Okay. I don't think there's anything else I can get out of them that I need right now.
Okay.
I mean, we can medically tend to the captain, but it's not going to get any better. You know, we can try all sorts of things, but with the sepsis going on, there's nothing to cut off of him. Like, it's not like it's just his arm or anything, so he's just going to slowly die, I figure.
Yes. Now, if you had a cleric, cure light wounds or cure disease, in theory, this person's life could be saved. You'd probably need both cure light wounds and cure disease. But you are a fighter, and you don't know what spells this cleric has access to. That's on this island, and you don't know if they would ever work with you, and yeah. So there's a long shot that maybe you could convince this cleric to save this sea captain's life. Or maybe if the cleric was... Go ahead.
She could have saved him if she wanted to. You know,
Right.
like they left them alive. Okay, they are stranded on this ice thing. Okay, she's not obliged to do it, but let's think she's a really good person who actually believes, okay, the queen is evil and everything she does is wrong and she needs to lead these people to safety. That is still not a reason to let this man die on that boat. You know? Like, you can say, okay, I'm very sorry, you guys disagree with me, we are leaving, best of luck to you, you know, and you still don't have to let that guy die there with his huge gashing wound. You know, there's a way in between, so I don't think she's very easily convinced to help this man.
Okay.
You can help your enemies if they're not the worst enemies. That is a thing.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we'll need to plan how to set out and close in on the location on that mountain.
How many people are you going to take with you to the mountain? Are you going to take the whole troop? Are you going to take a smaller section?
I'm not happy with this part at all whatsoever. The problem is we're not mountaineers either, which is great. So we've seen this scout who left towards the mountain apparently, but as I understood it, they left towards up on a path, not a way that you would climb up with 20 people or something, but more like single-handedly hike up there. The question is, would there be a better way to get up the mountain that is not that steep hill? And there has to be, because somehow they all managed to get up. Right? They left with 30 people or something, more than 30. So they had to get up there, and I doubt it was a very narrow mountain path that other guy took. So I think we need to find a way to get up the mountain, which will let us bring more people there. We still need enough people in the camp so that taking the camp is a risk. Right? So that we don't leave with 15 people and there's enough people left that they think, okay, we're going down there, we're going to attack the camp.
Right.
So a substantial problem. I think there needs to be at least one platoon in camp. At least.
But you're going to take the other 2 platoons and death ball them up the mountain?
I want to take 12. I think we'll take 12 people.
Okay. Well, you do know at least the start of a path up there. That path has probably been, the trail is gone cold by now, but you could at least find the start of it again, and it's probably pretty straightforward. And there might be other routes, who knows? So why don't you produce yourself the 2 groups that you want to take? We'll just,
Let me have a look at my people real quick.
Yeah, let's
Willa has pretty good perception, so she can come with.
Willa will come. We'll put her in charge of one of the platoons. Be heading out. Which of the sergeants do you want to stay behind?
Look at Carl again. Strong boy. Bad perception, not very smart. Is he charismatic? A little bit charismatic. He'll stay in the. Yeah, he'll do the right thing and he'll stay in camp. So I want Carl to stay behind. I'm taking Gregor and Willa. And then 4 bow people and the are coming. From the sailors, none of them are fit enough to make a trip, right?
None of them are soldiers. None of them are warriors. They have no fighting ability, no weapons, no armor. They're not in great condition, but they could probably march up a mountain if you pushed them.
Okay, but they could keep watch if they had to.
Yeah.
In camp. Okay, well, no, it's fine. I'll leave them in camp, and I will take the rest, all spearmen, I guess. So what is that?
So we're leaving 4
5
sailors
spearmen?
behind, or 5 sailors behind. And you are leaving. How many spearmen did you say you were leaving behind?
We're taking. Sorry, I said we're taking 12 people total. That's me, the 2 officers, and then there are like 9 more people. Of the 9 people, 3 are bowmen, 6 are spearmen.
You're bowmen, 6 are spearmen. Okay, 3 bowmen, 6 spearmen, 2 NCOs, and then everybody else is staying behind.
Yes.
Okay. Numbers just barely do not fit into my neat little squares.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Fine. It's fine. Okay. And how are we getting up the mountain? Are we going the trail that we know or that we've seen the start of?
So in which direction did the group leave when they left the people on the boat behind?
Well, they weren't at this point when they left the people.
Yeah,
on the
they were in the
behind.
south. Yeah, but like still, they were in the south.
They left
East,
the iceberg
right?
boat when it was near the peninsula. Because the boat has been stuck on this iceberg going around the island over and over again. And when it got stuck on the iceberg and everyone left, they were near the peninsula. And so they took the boats, moved a bunch of gear and supplies and people onto the peninsula, and that was the last they've been seen of, except for, appearing up on the mountain.
Well, I assume since you can see the light from the southern east part of the island, right? That's where you can spot the light, that these people from up there have a good vantage point to look out for anything around the southern eastern area. So I don't want to go up the mountain anywhere here because I don't want to be immediately spotted. But they also do know like that we saw that person going up that pathway, right? So
Yeah,
I don't think it would be very smart to just trudge up there. Ideally, they have set up some people to wait to see if we come up there and they have split themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be smarter to try to find a different way that is somewhere. I mean, I've seen the mountain from different angles. So where I want to go up shouldn't be too snowy, because if it's super snowy, then there's a chance of ravines, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What do I know, right?
What do you know?
But I also don't want to exactly take this path that we've just taken. So I think we would go to the south and try to find if there's any way up the mountain from like here.
Okay. Alrighty. And the party sets off. Is there anything that you want to take other than your normal supplies? Are you taking multiple days of rations? Did you want to bring any
I think we have
axes,
to.
or...
I think we might have to take some tents this time. I think we might not get around it because that might take longer than a day. So we're taking 12 people, and how many people fit in a tent? 4, you said?
4, yeah.
So we'll
Still
take 3 tents.
3 tents, okay. Take a
And can we take something to make fire as well? Firewood.
well,
anything
you can
like that.
You can chop down trees or pull out dead wood that you come along the way. Hauling firewood with you has like a huge weight in practicality. You'd be hauling.
Okay, now if you say we can light that fire, like that wood, that's fine by me. But if it's like everything is wet and cold and you can't, I mean, we've been here for 6 days. I figure we know some way to.
Yeah, it's
that
just
at
a
least.
slow process, right? You don't like immediately start it going, but you've got your tinder box, and it takes some time, and it's a process. You need to give yourself lots of time at the end of the day or before you want your fire to get going, but it can be done.
Okay, we'll take 3 wood axes, 3 hatchets, 2 shovels, and a pickaxe as well. I want to take the pickaxe. Just, I don't know.
Okay, well, let's see.
And 100 feet of rope.
Okay. These...
We're going mountaineering.
These tents weigh 15 pounds each, so if you're taking 3 of them, the bowmen can carry the tents without gaining any encumbrance, and that you're taking 3 bowmen, so in 3 tents, so that's fine. And then you wanted to take... Your spearmen can carry 6 pounds before they hit... Before they've reached the next level of encumbrance. Your wood axes... Each person can carry like 1 axe. What else did you want? Rope is 8 pounds, I believe. Rope is 8 pounds, but you're taking Gregor and Willa, is it?
Yep.
So Gregor can definitely take a bunch more gear. He can take another 29 pounds. And Willa can take a lot more than that. So yeah, I think between Willa and Gregor, you can add in the... What was it? How many axes did you say?
3 axes, 3 hatchets.
3 axes, 3 hatchets. You said some
100
ropes?
feet of rope.
Okay, 2 sets of ropes. Yeah.
Yep.
And then
1 pickaxe.
Excellent.
And I think we should take 1 first aid kit as well.
Yeah. And some bandages with that, I assume.
Yes.
You have 50. How many you want to take? Just at a... You only have 12
I'll
people.
take... Take 8. I'll take 8.
All right, perfect. And you said some tinder boxes.
Yes.
Alrighty.
I have 1 of
no
myself.
lanterns, no torches, no oil flasks.
We have lanterns and we have torches, right? Let me check.
Lanterns are heavier, but they produce better light. Torches are lighter, but their light is not as good.
And they are refillable as well, or no?
Yes.
The torches. Okay, I'll take 2 torches then.
Excellent.
Extra torches. I already have 1. And some oil for them as well.
All right.
How
Perfect.
heavy is an oil flask? Not too heavy, I hope.
I think it is a pound. 1 pound.
All right.
All right, so we got a lot of gear, and it's just going to be distributed across all your people. We're not going to bother, doling it out specifically. And it's time to head up this mountain. You're leaving Carl in charge of everyone else.
Yes.
Any last-minute instructions for Carl?
Okay, I'll tell him, I said, Carl, you've done really well so far. Okay. Make sure you defend the camp as valiantly as you can. No huge excursion outside of the camp. Okay? No tracking down big animals. Anybody who comes into the camp, who's like, like the guy who came in here half frozen, you shoot them on sight.
Aye, aye.
All right. Otherwise, try to keep morale high, and make sure the sailors feel taken care of.
And to be clear, we're heading out on the same day that we got back from the ship, or are we going to wait until sunup the next day? Because it's already, partway through the day by now.
Do I get 1 HP back, Neal, if I get out tomorrow?
To get a HP back, you need to have a day of rest. And every time you go hiking through the snow, it prevents you from getting any rest.
All right. No, it's fine. Then No, we're going... Wait, hold up. What time is it again? Sorry?
It's a little bit afternoon.
Okay, let's rest up and go tomorrow morning bright and early then.
Okay. And everyone is taking with them 2 days of food, or 3 days of food, or 4 days of food?
Let me do the neat little supply check. No, 3 days. We'll take 3 days of food. Per person. I'm going to put it on mine as well.
Okay. You can still fit all your gear, but it's going to have to be disassembled. Like the tent, instead of being one big kit, now some archers are going to have to carry parts of the gear is going to have to be a little bit more spread out amongst the party. So it's not so much like this person has a full tent. It's like these 3 people are each carrying part of a tent set up. But that's fine. It can still work. But if anyone falls off the mountain, like they might have part of an integral thing with them.
Right, which is why we're looking for an okay mountain path and not taking the steep 1-person path.
Alrighty. Well, the party sets off, and it's a happy, easy party. You said we're leaving the next day, so we will eat 1 set of rations on this day. And, day 7. Now, you've already been injured leading the party yourself. Who is in the front of this journey towards the mountain to find a way up?
I think we'll have Willa in front. Her perception is pretty good. She has a bow.
Great. Have Willa make me a perception check, please. A 22 is great.
That's solid.
Yeah. You head out. You get to that same icy river that you'd seen before. You're looking for a different way up, a better way up. You cross the river, and with that 22, Willa will find something. It's not actually the direction that you were heading. It's like a little bit, how should I say? You're circling around the mountain, and it is away from the mountain that Willa will spot another set of ruins. I'm just going to copy these things, and we're going to come on over here. this map. Put the party here. You will be coming from the top of this map in, and Willa will have spotted one of these walls and brought the party over here. This looks like another section of ruined encampments, except unlike the last one, which looked like it was abandoned mid-construction, this looks like it had small stone walls that were finished, and then everything else was a wooden section that has been destroyed or decayed or hauled off or used or something. But this looks like the remains of a small outpost with, what, 5 buildings?
Okay, can we look through the ruins here?
Yeah.
Like, search the ruins for anything, really?
You can find clear signs of what used to be the superstructure of these, like a rooftop beam, some cross beams. You can see like where the wood has been notched to fit in with other wood because nails are big and heavy and expensive because it's not like the modern era. And sometimes it's easier just to join wood with good woodworking rather than to nail everything together. They definitely don't have screws. So there's clear signs of intentional construction that was once upon a time finished but has since been destroyed or dismantled. It's hard to tell the age. You don't see any metal bits left behind. So that could mean that it's either been picked over by people looting it or that it was intentionally abandoned and all the valuable things were pulled out and taken with you. There's no sign of food. There's no sign of much. There is like some desks and what looks like it would have been the posts of a very large bed. There's, an old broken down door over here, but no hinges. What looks like it was a pair of shutters, some floorboards, roofing material.
Okay, if we if the part that still has floorboards, right? If I tap on it with my foot, does it sound hollow or is it all solid?
You can go tapping around, kicking away snow and dirt and dust, and it sounds pretty solid. You'll locate a couple areas that seem hollow.
Okay, if I lift one of the floorboards where it sounds hollow, is there anything underneath, or is it just rotten away and that's why it sounds like this?
It's just uneven ground underneath. Yeah.
Okay. If we scout around this area, like the vicinity here, is there a place that could have been like a graveyard or something similar?
No, you don't see any grave markings anywhere here. But would you make me a perception check for yourself, for Willa, and for, is this Gregor? Yeah, Gregor.
Yes. Okay, myself is not very great. That's an 11.
That
Willa
can't be right.
is...
You don't roll d20 plus 0 for perception.
No, I don't. I don't know what it rolled, though. Oh, I'll figure it out. I'll do Willa first, because I've already have it open. Willa's a 31. Look at that woman go. Carl... No, sorry. Carl is in camp. He's vibing. Gregor has a 11, which is not great. Yeah. And my perception is plus... Hold up. It's a lot of people to go through.
Yeah, your perception is 11. You should be rolling d20 plus 11. What happened?
It would be 22 then, right? Because it rolled a 20, so it will be 22.
Okay, these are working now. I don't know why.
I have no idea what it did.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Yeah. So with your 22 and Willa's 31, which is a fantastic perception check, you can see that on that mountainside there is what appears to be a switchback trail that is a little bit wider than what you were going up before. What appeared to be some sort of clambering route, but the switchback trail is further to the east. it would be well within sight of whatever light source you expect would be. I mean, I don't know. You're in the woods, but there's a trail up on the mountain that you can see. You don't know where the entrance is, but it is more on the southeastern side. Right now, you're on the southern side.
But it would be possible to try to take that and see if there's any way leading further away, right? There might be a crossing at some point that gives me the opportunity to go further to the west instead of the east.
Yeah.
So I think we will try that, because the only alternative would be to try going all the way around and then explore the northwest and hope that something is happening there. But if I remember correctly, the southern side is also the side that has the least snow on it, so yeah, I think we'll take that as a compromise and try to steer to the western side of the mountain at least a little bit, so we don't run straight towards the light. Don't go into the light.
All right. You head towards the mountain. Can you roll me a D100, please?
Oh, I love those, Neal. Is low good or bad? Oh, well, no, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell. I didn't ask. 1D100. There we go. 9?
Roll me a D6.
I'm so tired of you hurricanes, Neal. Oh my god.
These are great rolls, by the way. Roll.
Me?
Okay. Great. It's fine. Don't sweat it. All right.
I'm not sweating. It's super cold here, so.
Yeah. You head towards the mountain. You've got this group of people with you. You have an idea of where this switchback is, at least on the mountain. It's hard to tell where it goes. You know, the trees and all the snow makes it hard to find in places. And it generally is on the southeastern side, but you're heading towards the mountain and trying to head back towards the west side, as I understand it. Let me bring back our map, our rudimentary map over here. Because the party, your camp is already on the west side, right? And so you've come down over here to see this old outpost, this old set of buildings. And there's a switchback somewhere over here. And so now you're heading back towards the mountain and back towards camp to try and find a way up the mountain. Right? I just want to be clear.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, I believe so, yeah.
Righty. Give me an intelligence check. Self. Ah, yeah.
28.
This is great. You find when one starts to climb a random mountain, you never really know how it's gonna go. You need to start making your way up before you have an idea if this is gonna work. If it's a bare mountainside and good vision, maybe you could scout a path out ahead of time, but especially if it's forested and snow covered, you sort of just have to brute force it and try a path, and if it doesn't work out, try another path. If it doesn't work out, try another path. Well, you start on one of these paths after a few attempts to turn back, and it starts to work out. And maybe an hour into it, so we're now in the midday, you recognize part of the trail. This is that same path that you were beginning to follow up earlier, before you realized that this wasn't the way you wanted to go and you turned back on day 3 or something. This route that you're taking has brought you back to that other pathway up the mountain that you were following a trail of, that goes up, but is sort of narrow and has some scramble points. And with 12 people, you can absolutely do this, but with them all being moderately encumbered, it's definitely going to be slow going. When you get to the scramble points, everyone's going to have to stop. Packs get passed across, then people get passed across, and then the next person and pack. It's going to be a slow climb, and there might not be any spots for setting up tents until you get all the way to the top. And you're around midday, a little after midday, maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon. but that's where you are. That's what your 28 on your intelligence check tells you. You could go up. Maybe you can get all the way up. Maybe there will be a cave. Maybe there will be a flat spot. You can find another route. You could go and sleep nearby, so you can do this very, very early the next morning. A lot of decision making.
If we were to go back to the broader side where the switchback is, how long did it take us to travel from there?
To where the switchback, like the big switchback that you could see. You don't know where that starts. You can see it coming down the mountain, but you can't tell where the beginning of that is. You'd have to spend some time looking for it. Now, granted, the island, as we mentioned before, is only really like 5 miles across here. And so if you and your people were just to like walk around the base of the mountain, you could probably get to the far side by the end of the day if conditions held.
I feel like there's really no good way to go about this without knowing much about mountaineering. So I'm going to make the most reasonable choice that I have right now, which would be to go back to where that settlement was that we've just found and go up the broad side. I mean, they might see us, but we might also see them. And I feel like scrambling up a very narrow path where somebody walked up who knows we've seen them is just not a smart idea. And I'm worried about going up a mountain, and when the path is very narrow, people can very easily drop stuff on you from there. You know, like that would be very easy to do. So I'm a little bit worried about that, and I'd rather take the broader path, even if it means being discovered maybe more easily. So I guess we'll revise that decision.
Excellent. Well, you get back to the settlement, and then you're going to follow in the direction that you hope it will lead you to path. Gonna make just roll me another D100, D20. High is good, low is not bad, but not great. You know, D20. Die roll is 18. Oh, excellent roll. Yes. Very quickly through the woods, you will find a but a recently worn trail. It heads towards the mountain, like you're kind of intersecting it like a T intersection. One side of it heads definitely straight towards the mountain, and the other side heads straight to the west towards the sea. Although any direction that is not towards the mountain is towards the sea, technically. But it is a recent trail, and considering that there was a big snowfall 2 nights ago, it's recent.
All right. And that's the only way up the mountain that I can see here, right? There are no smaller paths leading away from it, but they all go from there.
For now, yes. Yes, from your current positioning, there's this recently stomped snow that looks like it is heading towards that mountain pass. That's a pretty good assumption. I mean, in theory, it could be headed towards something else near the mountain. Like maybe there's another cave at the base of the mountain, and this trail leads to that and not to the switchback. Or maybe there's a secret city buried under the snow, or some crazy person who thinks that you could build an entire civilization underground, or a magical rope that dangles out of a pocket dimension. You don't really know where it goes, but towards the mountains, probably towards the switchback.
Right. Okay, I'll head towards the mountains with my people. I'll also take note if there are any caves or anything, just in case we need to take shelter from a blizzard, or something like that. I want to have an eye out for that.
The progress begins to go uphill. There's some gentle slopes, and as the sun is getting lower in the sky, it's a slow going through all this, and you're getting on towards evening. You hit the part where you're pretty reasonably, you could say that this is the real start of the mountain here. Like we've gone up a hill and sort of down a little bit, and then it was flat, and we went up another hill and it's kind of flat, and now here is like a more narrow path that's only like 3 feet wide that begins to head up the mountain. But it's later in the afternoon. This is a great spot to stop and make camp for the night and start up the mountain the next day. Or, who knows, maybe you could get a little ways up that mountain before anything bad goes down.
I mean, if I look up the mountainside, does it look like the terrain changes at all the higher we get? Like, does it get more rough? I mean, you said the path is getting more narrow. So has it been like there have been more broader spaces as we went up? They became smaller and smaller?
Right now, it looks like you're just sort of walking over like hills that have trees and the occasional rock and lots of snow. But the part before you that you're seeing actually has like a narrow pathway that goes at like a higher angle. Instead of just like walking towards something on a trail, there's like it clearly defined, you can only really walk on this section. And it looks like it's about 3 feet wide here, which is a very reasonable hiking trail.
Okay.
And it could get wider, it could get more narrow, but the path that you're on definitely starts marching up the mountain this way.
Okay. Have we been walking through footsteps the entire time?
Since you've come across this trail, you have been walking along the trail.
Can I estimate how long it would take to get up the mountain? I have no idea, right? Because it depends how zigzag the path is.
Yeah. Mountain is about, I don't know, a kilometer high or so. If it were a nice, dry, warm day with an easy trail and no snow, that could take you 3 to 4 hours, probably 2 to 3 hours, depending on stuffs. With all of your gear holding you down.
In the entirety.
From here to the top of the mountain, if it was like good conditions and you weren't encumbered, it would take you maybe an hour or two to climb up. But with encumbrance, you got to double that. And with snow, you got to add more time to that. And maybe the path is easy, maybe the path is hard. So a pessimistic view is that it could take you a day. An optimistic view is that it could take you a half day.
Okay, could I but command people to set up camp here? Take Willa and Gregor. No, not Willa and Gregor, sorry. Take Willa and just the two of us, I guess, for now. And still head like a little bit further out, just the two of us.
The two of you do a little scouting?
Do a little scouting ahead, yeah.
Yeah, that's
to see
great.
what it's like.
That's a great idea. Roll me a d10.
6.
Oh, lucky day, Faye. Lucky day. You head up to the mountain, the two of you, and you begin to crunch your way through the snow, right? It's already cold, the path is clear before you, and as you're crunching through the snow, you hear the sound of like something, like a rock tumbling against another rock, and the two of you stop, like you do when you hear weird sounds in the woods, and you pause, and then you notice like a little bit of movement in the trees up the path a little bit. Being the seasoned, well, maybe not seasoned, but the trained warriors that you are, you take a little bit of cover, and then you notice there is a person coming down the trail in front of you, carrying a spear over their shoulder, and it's the spear that is like occasionally bumping into a branch and causing some snow to fall. And it is a single soldier coming down the mountain. No armor, spear over their shoulder, haven't noticed you. But they're gonna pretty soon.
Alright. Is there a way to try to ambush this guy?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. We're gonna lay low somewhere. I mean, there are trees nearby, right? So I'm going to tell Willa to lay low. She knows at my command before that I said we need to try and capture, if we ever encounter somebody out here, we need to try and capture them. So that should be fine.
Alrighty. Well, we're gonna take a short break, And when we come back from our short break, we will see what happens in this encounter. Catch you on the other side of a break. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are in down the mountain, being an unarmored but armed soldier. He's got a spear. Our party is perched just below. The good cover you could find is just below the mountain area. And this soldier is walking on down. You're a little bit further away from the rest of your camp, maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. So there's no reinforcements for you. So far, you think it's just this one person. So have the...
All right. Is it possible for me to step out here and shield rush that guy?
Yes. Coming down the mountain, and he gets to a point where you think it's a good idea to step out and... Well, let's take a look at... Shield rush have a specific distance?
I believe... Let me look. I believe it's 10 feet.
Yep, 10
What
feet.
do you need?
Running room to make an effective shield rush. Treat as a charge attack for purposes of guarding characters with set spears. When you make a shield rush, you make a normal attack against the enemy's AC. Some shields may provide modifiers or bonuses to the rush. Refer to Chapter 7. After the shield has been used for a rush, it provides no AC bonus for the rest of the round for its bearer. Making a shield rush also costs the character a normal attack, but isn't considered an offhand weapon like a shield punch. This will be your only attack for the round. If the shield bearer hits with his attack, he may make an opposed strength roll against his opponent to see if he knocks him down. The loser of the roll falls down. If both characters fail their strength rolls, they both fall down. And you're going to get a bonus of +3 because the enemy is unaware.
Is there, I don't know, is there a way to non-lethal this? I don't want to shield rush him and kill him at the same time. Is there a way to do that?
Well, shield rush does d6 damage. There are non-lethal attacks, but that's not a shield rush. I think to attack non-lethally, let's open the handbook. Pretty certain. Weapons and possible to make an armed attack without causing serious damage. It's not as easy as it sounds. You have to have a weapon that enables you to control the damage. You can't do it with an arrow or a sling or a hammer or a mace, but you could do it with a sword or an axe. You hit him with the side of the blade. Excuse me. Secondly, you have a penalty of 4 to your attack roll, and you do half damage, or 50% normal, 1/2 temporary. So if you were to make a sword attack at -4, then instead of doing d8 +2, it would be doing damage from such attack is 50% normal. So I think we just divide by 2, and then 1/2 of that would be temporary. So if you roll a 8 on your d8, you'd be doing 10 damage. Divided by 2 would be 5 damage, and half of that 5 would be temporary. So you would do 2 damage and 2 temporary damage.
It would definitely be less damage than if I shield rush them, because shield rush would be plus my strength as well, right?
Yes, your shield rush is... Oh, you have 17 strength, right? No, 16.
No, oh, I wish. Yes.
Yeah, so the shield rush will definitely do d6 +1, all real damage. If you make an unarmed attack, you could try to do it non-lethally, and then you would definitely do less damage. The shield rush...
Okay, I'll try it without the shield rush then. I don't want to accidentally kill that person.
All right, so popping out from around, this person is surprised. You have a bonus of 1, I guess? 2? What's our combat settings say? Attack modifiers, AC modifier, surprise. You have a bonus of 1 against them because he is surprised. And you're at -4 in order to non-lethally smack him with the side of the blade. So let's see it.
All right. With the arming sword, trying to pummel that person.
Yes.
13.
13
That is minus how much do you have?
4 is
That's a miss,
9, but their AC
Unless
is
this guy's
reduced
minus
by
1 dex.
1 because he's
Oh.
surprised, which is
Then
10.
exactly
It's
what- it's
literally
exactly
the
it.
exact number that you needed.
All right.
right.
Damage, I guess.
Yeah, just roll your regular damage with your arming sword.
Oh, very good.
No, this damage should actually be free because you have a strength bonus.
Yeah, but I'm encumbered.
So that just
Right.
changes the
So does
hits,
it get-
not the damage.
Oh, never mind then.
So you will do 5 damage. I've updated your character sheet to account for all these things. 5 damage, you're doing half of it, so 2.5. 1 is real, and 1 is temporary. And wouldn't you know it, this person had 2 hit points. So you will bring them to 1 HP, and then 1 temporary damage.
Oh my
will
goodness.
Just perfectly knock this person out without having the possibility of them bleeding out on you or anything like that. You just...
Oof.
You pop out of the snow. How do you hit him? You've done everything exactly right. You've hit all the numbers exactly where you needed. Paint me a beautiful picture of how this scene plays out. This was way too fast, way too easy.
Yeah, I think it happens, and I think it happens really, really quickly. I think that person just sees, like in the corner of their eye, they just see this large shadow, like just coming up from the side. And the second they turn their head, they were already too slow, and they just, you just hear the clonk from the pommel going straight into the side of their head and just knocks them out.
Right. Well, they hit the ground. They fall into the snow. And Willa comes out a moment later, being surprised, pleased.
Willa, give me a hand. We have to carry this guy out of the way.
Yep. The two of you can drag him off the path. But where are you going with him?
So the thing is, I have no idea what this guy is doing. Probably patrolling. Just like walking up and down the mountain, making sure nothing's coming their way. If he's going missing for a substantial time, they will probably send other people down coming looking for him.
Yep.
He wasn't walking particularly fast, though. I think we should carry him back to the other people and then try to set up a second ambush in case somebody comes looking for him.
Okay. Well, it's 15, 20 minutes back to the other people who are setting up camp. Not a problem. You can head back down in that direction. The path will get a little more narrow, but between the two of you, carrying this guy, not too much of a problem. Righty. Unconscious. I think he will wake up somewhere in our journey back. Yeah. Actually, it's maybe 10 minutes after you get back to the camp that's been set up where, the tents and firewood has been chopped and little fire is going in between the 3 tents. You lay this guy down. Everyone comes to gather around and take a look at this scrawny, half-starved, weakened soldier who's not wearing any armor or a shield. And it's while everyone's gathering around looking at this person that eyes begin to flutter, begins to stir, looks up. These 12 Drekisian soldiers and knights.
I'll look at him and I'll say, is it a guy? It's a guy, right?
Is a male.
Right, I'll look at him and I'll say, welcome home, soldier.
a little bit of shock and surprise. Who are you?
My name is Elaine Pentolin, and my brave people and I here are after a vicious cleric who apparently has brought some very innocent people under their control, luring them away from a ship and trying to establish some sort of command over them.
Uh-huh. The soldier puts a hand to the side of the head where they've just been smashed with the pommel.
I apologize for this. I might have acted a little bit rash, you know. Tensions are pretty high. Must be the weather.
Yeah, the cold makes you do weird things.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, you've been on patrol, or what were you up to?
Character. Special type of morale check.
I'm very charismatic, which can be intimidating or charming, you know.
Right, what is your leadership bonus? Your
Just +1, I think.
+1? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Reaction just to loyalty 1, so.
Oh, your reaction. Okay, reaction just is actually what I meant, not loyalty. Perfect.
All right.
The soldier looks to you and to the others and goes, You're here to find... Look, I don't know what you've been told, but things aren't what they seem.
I'll crouch down towards them and I'll say, well, if you want to be on this side, I suggest you start talking and you talk quickly, because I don't know when the next group is coming after to look after you. And you'd rather be safe here than dying up on that mountain.
No, it's okay. It's fine. The Drekisian queen has been taken over by a monster. She's been mind controlled, or possessed, or we need to go back, rescue the queen. That's where we were headed before everything went wrong. And we need to break the curse that's on her, or the hold that this monster has on her. We've been stranded on this island. We've been trying to get off. Wherever your ship is, we can take it and we can get back. And I'm sure someone has the ability to remove curse or abjure. The Mother Elise said abjure could work as well. I don't know what that is, but it sounds pretty strong. It sounds like powerful magic, and that could get rid of the thing that's gripping her mind.
Right.
The soldier begins to sit up. Then, if you allow them, get to their feet.
He can get to his feet, yeah. I mean, I take it we've taken at least his weapon, off him. But
yeah.
Now, so what happened to the other soldiers, the 2 Kels that were with you?
They're back at our base, and he jerks his thumb towards the east, towards the sea. They're back at the main base.
I take it you've heard that we're coming?
Yeah, we saw you move. I was headed down the mountain to tell everyone else where you were. We were hoping to make contact with you. Explain to you what's going on, why we're here, get you to help us out. There's still time to save the Empire.
Why do you send someone with a weapon to our camp if you were just trying to talk? Of course,
that was a mistake.
Little Jimmy.
That was a misunderstanding, I'm sure. We went down to take a look. We saw people. We saw a boat. Jimmy, Timmy, and Bobby all went down to take a look. Bobby.
Okay, just
Bobby
so
said,
I understand.
But Bobby said that
I'll cut
Timmy
him.
went
I'll cut him
closer-
off. Don't worry. Okay, just so I understand correctly. Did he say the camp is down the mountain?
Yep.
And you were up the mountain as a lookout then?
Well, that's where the signal beacon is. We're hoping to pick up a passing ship, not a Drekisian ship. That's why we.
How many people are up at the beacon except for you?
There should be 6 others. But the camp is that way, and that's where Mother Elise is. That's where the 2 knights are. They'll tell you. They'll explain it to you. I'm just a farmer, okay? I raise pigs. That's all I do, okay? I don't know anything about magic. All I know is that they sent us off to go fight some goblins in what was just a grinding attrition where countless people were being thrown in to a meat grinder and nobody was coming out alive. And it's in some distant land that we don't even give a shit about. And it's an endless, pointless slaughter. And it's this demon, this monster that has affected the queen's mind. The
But
cleric
you're
will make
here
sense
on-
of it.
You're here on this island and you're all dying.
Terrible. I'm so grateful to see someone who can save us. Save the empire. Save the kingdom.
I just look at this soldier who's like emaciated and looks terrible. And to Elaine, he's clearly making no sense. You know, he's babbling. The queen has not been taken over by some evil demon creature. Even if she was, you know, however knowledgeable that cleric is, you know, no lowish cleric is going to be tasked with such a mission, because we're talking about the Empress here, you know, one of the most important people of the world. If the gods cared, clearly they wouldn't just put it onto some lowly cleric's shoulders to take care of such a mission of great importance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you really want to save one of the greatest people who've ever lived, surely you would give that mission to, you know, a great cleric. I've heard the queen herself has some in their family, so why this one, right? Like, clearly this is a scam and a scandal and an insult to the crown itself. And I think Elaine is appalled that somebody would abuse people in such a dire situation without food in such a way to put like such a bug into their ear and betray their own, you know, their own country. Because clearly, I mean, they've been deserting before, but being stranded on an iceberg is also not a nice situation. So
are you trying to hide this opinion from your face, or are you pretty transparent with your disbelief of their?
No, I think what you see on Elaine's face is just grief. You know, she seems to be grief-stricken, and that could be interpreted in different ways, right? It could be, I'm disappointed in these people. It could be like, oh my god, this is such a terrible situation, right? What has befallen our great country? Like, it depends on how mad you are, how you would interpret it. So there are still 6 people up there. Okay. Okay, I'll tell him. I'll say, okay, don't worry about it. We will take care of it. Okay, you just rest. You take a deep breather. We will go and get your other friends from up the mountain and bring them back down. And then together we can go to your camp, and your cleric can talk to me and make more sense of it, just as you said.
Give me a charisma check. "21. It's a pass." The soldier breathes a sigh of relief. And he looks back up. "Hey, food. Starving."
Oh, of course, you can have food. Good man. I'll hand him one of my personal rations.
Excellent. We're up to 31 mouths to feed. Well, what are you going to do now?
Well,
About nighttime. It's fallen soon. Maybe an hour or two. I mean, you're on this side of the mountain is going to be, you're already in like shadows, but the sun is not below the horizon. Clearly, the soldier thinks that he could get to the encampment before nightfall, otherwise he wouldn't have set out at this point. What are you going to do, Elaine?
Okay, I'm going to go up the mountain.
It'll be dark soon.
Well, they have a beacon up there, so I'm not too worried about it. He thought he could make it back up. And in the dark, it's a good time to ambush people. You know, if you're around like a large beacon, you're pretty much blind in the night to anything that comes from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Elaine is not good when it comes to the wilderness, I think she knows a thing or two about tracking people down when it's dark through the city, you know? Mm-hmm. So if people are in like very bright light, which this beacon probably is, I don't think they're going to see immediately if you skulk through the shadows, because they're going to be pretty blind from there.
Right. The two of you, or is it just you?
No! Oh, Jesus Christ, no!
How many people are going up this mountain?
Well, we are currently 12. There are 6 people up there. So we're taking 6. It's gonna be me, Willa. I don't think archers are going to do much good up there, but me, Willa, 3 spearmen, and 1 bow person.
All right, Elaine, Willa, 3 spearmen, 1 bowman. Going up the mountain. Do a quick flip back over here. Range our party a little bit. So
they said it should be possible to do in an hour, so I would like to leave my heavy pack behind. And I'm going to tell Willa to do the same, but still keep like 1 rope with her. So we'll just go with minimal equipment, just so I don't have to be encumbered in a fight and get a -1 to hit.
So we're leaving Reger, 3 spearmen and 1 bowman, and the captive down with the 3 tents. And we're dropping our packs, and we're going to climb the kilometer mountain tonight in the dark.
Yes. Well, you said he thought he could make it back, like he was going back up the mountain, right?
No. He was headed towards the camp down by the coast.
Oh, right. Well, I can ask him how long it would take to get back up to the beacon from you.
Three hours climbing up. If you don't have any armor or shields. Which means if you're not encumbered.
Right. And it's nightfall in an hour, you said, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, climbing at fucking mountain in the middle of the dark. And it's kind of steep. That is... Oh, Jesus Christ! Decisions. Okay. Well, so far nothing bad's happened. This guy's staying with us. He has food. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll tell him we'll stay here for the night, and then in the morning we can make the climb up together.
And it's a good choice, because... Right. Not a blizzard, but it is a cold snap. Your water skins will all freeze solid. You'll have to melt snow in order to get anywhere, anything. You've got mess kits, so you've got like little tins that you can put snow in and put over the fire, and then the water will melt, and then you can snow will melt, and you can take sips of water. But a handful of snow only produces like a smidge of water, and so it is going to be not a huge problem for now. But tonight is mighty. It's so cold that each tent is going to need its own fire in order to stay warm. And you're going to be burning through all that logging wood that you made. You might even have to send someone out in the middle of the night to collect some additional. And that person that goes out at night can easily see up on the mountainside, there is this glow. The glow coming from from within the mountain. It's not a big fire outside of the mountain that is visible, but it's like yellow, orangey, glowy thing up there. In which of the three tents is the deserter camping?
I think he's probably with me. You know, try to establish a little bit of trust, making sure to be like relaxed around them so they don't have the urge to get up in the middle of the night and run to their base or something. I think I would be there trying to establish a friendly relationship.
Okay. Your tent is a little overcrowded, which might be a little nice on a hot day, but it also might mean that someone keeps like pushing open the door and letting in the absolute freezing air. The smoke that billows up near the top of the tent and sort of begins to leak out is a little bit choking. Your eyes are all going to sting. Your clothes and everything you own with you is going to reek like campfire for weeks or months.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. All right. Like you're attached to any of these belongings. It is a...
No, it's just...
night. But it's okay. You've got tents and you've got fire, so it's fine. If you had gone up the mountain by yourself, well, that might have been a different problem. But we're going to go on to the next day, and we will eat another set of rations. Means that we're down at 789 rations left. This is... Roll me a D100, please.
$67.
Oh, good. All right. You're taking the whole group, including the deserter, up the mountain.
No, I'm taking exactly the same people I would have taken last night, not the whole group.
Okay.
Oh, this is at a stage. I'll tell them you just rest your legs. Okay. I'll tell them I met you and that you're safe and that there's nothing to be worried about. And then I'll fetch him. It's not far, and we'll come back and then we'll go together. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. What's your name? What's his name? Grippin.
I see that distaste in your eyes, Faye, and I don't want to hear it, all right? His name is Grippin.
Oh, well, Grippin, you were never made to survive this campaign without names, all I'm saying. All right. I guess we'll start walking, and I think Gregor is like probably walking like the first 5 minutes with us. I'll be like, Gregor, okay, come a little bit. So we're like 5 minutes away from the camp, and I talk to him. I lean towards him and I say, Gregor, if this man makes any motion to run, you kill him. Okay?
Of course.
No begging, no mercy. Be quick, okay? We're not trying to torture anybody. Well, we cannot have anybody escape and risk the mission.
I understand. Sir, do you think there's any truth to what he's saying about the queen being possessed by a demon?
I'll look at him and say, Gregor, I've once heard that if it gets really, really cold and people are close to freezing to death, they will imagine the most wondrous things.
But sir, this notion of a demon, it sounds like it happened when they were still aboard the boat before they got to this place. Right? Wasn't the cleric saying something about demons? Isn't that why they started the mutiny?
Of course, but what tells you that there's nothing else that has taken over the cleric? Think about it. The queen is protected by her walls, by her wizard. She's been safe in Wigthron Reventa, even from like a giant red dragon. How much more likely is it that anything evil could get to a lost cleric on some boat and twist their mind in a mission to weaken us? I mean, look how many people have come to this island. That is way more likely in my books.
That's a really good point, sir. Okay. And he'll go back, and he'll keep an eye, and everything will be fine. Whereas you, with Willa, 3 spearmen, and the 2 bowmen, all head up the mountain. As I understand it, we're dropping our bags, and we're going with just our armor and weapons, right? And our clothing, obviously.
Well, it's 3 hours up there, yeah?
It's 3 hours if you're unencumbered. Not encumbrance. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would like to take 1 rope. If I'm the only, I think I might, by myself, might be able to carry that.
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah.
Okay. Everyone drops their stuff and begins to ascend the mountain. Now, even without their bags, just because of the chainmail they're wearing, the bowmen and the spearmen are still going to be lightly encumbered, but they won't be moderately encumbered. And Elaine, without her bag, is also lightly but not moderately encumbered. So it'll take you a little longer to get up the mountain, but you won't have any combat penalties when you're there, which is nice.
Oh, we're just talking, Neal. You don't need combat penalties. It's fine.
Well,
we're just there to...
Up the mountain we go. Up and up and up we go. And we make perception checks for the people on the mountain. Oh, they roll a 4 plus whatever their perception score is. But it's 17.
It's a rough morning.
Now. Not 7. 5 hours later, around noon, sun is high in the sky and it's shining on this southern edge of the mountain as you switch back up and up and up and up. As you're coming up the switchbacks, you can see smoke rising from the west, which must be your camp. You can see the boat crashed on the iceberg. You have a pretty good view of half the island. You don't see any other signs of life, but you do see that trail that was made last night by that guy. You roll me a 2d8, please.
11.
Ah, nice. Perfect. All right. You march and march and march. 5 hours later, you are approaching the top of the mountain. And sure enough, you can see from this point, even though it's daylight, that there is a glow coming from... It's not quite a cave. it looks a lot more like a mine shaft. Like there's a little archway that is built and reinforced, set into this mountain. And not only can you see this little archway with like a glow, since you're down below, you can see like the glow on the ceiling. But you can see that above this archway on the mountain is a scout of some kind, a person whose job is to sit like outside of the mine shaft above the hill and keep an eye out on the horizon. And because they rolled like absolute dog shit, and you are aware that this thing is coming up in front of you and you're keeping a close lookout for it, you can spot them well before they spot you.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not entirely sure what the surroundings look like. I take it there are no more trees up there because this is the mountaintop, yeah? This is just
no, we're not above the tree line. Tree line is like 10,000 feet or so, and we're only at 2,000, 3,000 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the mountaintop, is there a way to go through the woods and try to get around that scout? Or is it like there's nothing to hide there?
So,
and like if we stepped out, it would be just flat.
Yeah, if we scroll to the right a little bit, here is a little switchback that's going on. Mm-hmm. And it is the party is currently like right over here. Actually, that's not quite right. You're like on this part of the switchback, so you're almost all the way up. And from your spot, you can see like the top side of this arch. And you can see that above the arch, we've got like person with a spear who's like hanging out and observing. And you can hear like a little thwack, thwack, thwack of an axe going somewhere, but you can't see any other people. You don't know what the top section of the switchback is like, but the area that you're on right now has a lot of trees on it. There's even trees growing up in the middle of the switchback, so letting you know this is an old trail. This switchback trail predates any of these activities in this campaign. And this archway looks like it's reinforced with wood. So someone has built a mine here once upon a time. Probably those same people that were maybe making those settlements that were abandoned. Whatever this is older than this expedition. And you can see one person and you can hear the sounds of other people. You don't know if you're going to have great cover. Like maybe you get to the top of this area and then there's absolutely no cover to the rest of the way. Or maybe there's nice tree cover the whole way through. You do hear the thwack, thwack, thwack of someone chopping down trees though.
Okay, but if we were to like move along here, at least this part would still be wooded.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, let's just skulk through here and like slightly away from the path. I mean, I take it that person, but even if you take what you would look down here, right? Then let's see if we can find that thwack thwack person in the woods somewhere.
Great. And would you arrange your folks into an order for me so I know who is the first to die?
I want to set up the bowman. If I was to take a shot with my bow from here at that guy who's standing watch, would I have a clear shot? Would it be long range? How far is that guy away?
It's going to be medium range, so -2 to hit, and he's behind like 25% cover, so that's another. What is that? Cover 2 AC, so you'd be a -4 to hit essentially.
-4. Can I tell you, these people are starving though. Like everybody else was super emaciated that I've met so far.
Yep. You'd probably only need one good shot to take this person down, and it doesn't look like they're wearing armor. It looks like these folks who have all abandoned their armor in favor of easier movement and not being, slowed down by the weight.
Okay, I think I'll have Willa and 2 bowmen stationed here in the woods. So they can try to take a shot at that guy in case he starts moving down. And the rest of us, so that's going to be... Where's she? Is that Willa? Willa with 2 bow people. Yeah, exactly. Something like that. And then me and the other 4 are going skulking for the wood chopper.
All right. I need you to roll me a D10.
9.
That's very good. See, these D10s are surprise rolls, and a 1, 2, or 3 indicates surprise, and a 4 through 10 indicates no surprise. And once again, our half-starved, emaciated deserters have rolled poorly on their surprise check. Actually, on all of their checks so far. And so you will climb up to this next section of Switchback, and you can see that there are 2 people of this log, like a recently felled tree, that they're trying to haul towards this mine. It's very clearly a mine shaft. And they've got it over their shoulders, and luckily for you, the log is on the right side of their head, and the right side of their body is facing you, and so they can't see you coming up the hill. They've got the vision on the left side, which is towards the cave that they're walking into. And so as you're popping around the edge of the switchback, you see 2 laborers carrying log. You see the one person up on top of the hill who's not looking your direction. They're looking in the direction of your encampment, which is actually way over there as well. And no one has spotted you yet. And you still hear the sounds of the thwacking, so there's got to be at least one other person outside.
Right. Can we so how is the cover looking here?
Pretty barren.
You said I can, like, this is pretty barren. Okay, yeah. Where's the thwacking? Which direction? Can I tell which direction the thwacking's coming from?
Give me a perception check. It's kind of hard. It's just a big echoey sound. You've got like armor and helmets on, and the snow dampens everything, and you're on a mountaintop. It really makes 22. It hard to tell. You think it's coming from the direction they were hauling the log.
From? Or towards?
From. It looks like they're heading towards the mine entrance.
Okay, but is there a way I can circumvent through the woods to the direction they came from? Or will I...
No, you'll have to be in the open, yeah. It looks like right out in front of this mine shaft is sort of a cleared and flattened area, and whatever trees used to be there have been cut down, probably for firewood or to give better views. And then the rest of the trail is still covered with trees, probably to keep the path as clear as possible, give it a little cover from the snowfall. And it's the rest of this upper mountain area that is looking like it's getting logged.
I wonder why they are dragging... Like, why are they mining here? How
Great
weird
question.
Is that? Well, there's a situation in which that guy lied. And this is the main camp, and there are 20 people in that mine. There's a world in which that is the case.
Well, you're watching. You're assessing the situation. The 2 people with the log are making their way towards the entrance to the mine and beginning to head in now.
Okay. I'm going to shield rush them. There's nothing else we can do. I'm going to shield rush the people with the wood.
All right.
And I'm going to sign to Willa as well to shoot the guy on the top of the cave.
Okay. You're going to shield rush the people carrying the logs. Based on their positioning, you'll be getting the guy in the back of the column carrying the logs, not the person in the front. And Willa and her archers can put 2 arrows each into the person on top. So why don't you make me 2 attacks for Willa, 2 attacks for Willa's bowman, and then we'll deal with your shield rush.
Willa, first attack
is a
damage.
19.
Is that a crit? No,
Nope.
17 is not a crit.
Yep.
And wow, that damage though.
But that's a miss because these attacks are at -3.
All right.
Yes.
So the first one hits though.
The first one hits for 3 points of damage. Make me one more attack for the other person since everyone's unleashing arrows at the same time.
Well, that's both of Willa's, so I haven't rolled for the
Oh, I
other
see.
two yet. Because you said 2 per person, right?
Right.
That's a second dude.
That's a hit. Yep.
1 damage.
Yep.
And that one
is
misses.
a miss. Excellent. So Willa did, what was it? 3, and the other person did 1.
1. And I still have 1 more if that's not enough.
It is not enough. This is one of the few people at full 6 hit points, and you do 4 damage.
That guy. What? All right.
Both of the extra bowmen need. That's a hit for 2. That's 4. That's 6. That is enough. And we will
calculated.
eat 6 arrows, not a problem. And in the meantime, you are rushing up behind this log person. You're hitting them from behind. They've got this other thing in hand. They're all distracted. You got a +4 on this attack with your shield rush. Go ahead and make it.
How do I roll this? Like a normal weapon attack?
It's a normal weapon attack, but it doesn't get your bonus for your arming sword. So it's just a d20 plus, what level are you? 3? d20 plus 2 plus 4. The d20 plus 6. Oh, it's a great shot. You come up right behind this person, and you smash into them with your shield, which does 1d6 plus your strength score damage.
I think we said I have +2, yeah?
1.
What a damage? 1 + 1. Oh, sorry, it's not my 4.
Oh, that is literally his exact HP. Once again, getting these people to exactly 0. You crack into this guy. He topples forward, hits his head on the ground, completely unconscious. The log that he's holding begins to slip and fall. The other 3 spearmen, you didn't give any instructions to, but they come up behind you, spears bristling and out. And now is time to roll initiative. And let me get one deserter over here.
Where am I? Here am I? Okay.
And they are going to roll initiative poorly. I will take care of your bowmen. Don't worry about them.
Well, I rolled bad initiative. Oh boy. I'm still, slightly, shield rushed. Trying to stay on my feet. It's not easy to rush someone with a shield and then swing straight after.
Yeah. So
When dodging
the bowmen begin to follow up behind you, like hurrying up the hill because they can't see anyone else. The first one of your spearmen to act, you bash the person with the shield, they come up running behind you, and one of them goes immediately for the attack because they see you beating the shit out of these people and the arrows firing, and so they launch in with a one-handed spear attack, which is a wild miss. The other bowmen can make their way up the hill. The other spearman pushes their way past you quickly, thrusting towards the person who with the log. Another miss, and now the logger, has turned around. The log has fallen to the ground. He's not surrounded, but there's 3 spearmen and a knight in plate mail in front of him, and he will take a disengage action and run into the mine, shouting, "They're here! They're here!" I guess it's not running into the mine. It's more of like backing and trying to, defend himself and reaching for anything that could be considered a weapon as he shouts over his shoulder into the mine. They're here, they're here. And your spearmen are going to sort of be pursuing after. The mine is not super wide, so by the time your turn comes around, it's, the dude and your 2 spearmen that are going into the mine. Your other spearman hasn't gone yet. You're out front as well. Your bowmen have arrived up. What are you going to do?
I think we're looking for the logger.
All right. You head along the outside.
So I'll have Willa stationed here, where she was before, with a clear view of the entrance of the mine. Her with 2 of the archers, and the rest of us go looking for the guy who should still be around out here somewhere.
Well, the two of your spearmen are already pushing one person into the mine. Like they've been following him and missing with their attacks.
They're follow. All right, okay,
Yeah.
And they're not getting him at all. Yeah.
Well, they haven't this round, but they'll get him next round.
I guess we have to help him first. It's fine. I'll push into the mine with them, and I'll tell the others to go find the logger then.
Okay. So, 2 spearmen going off to find the logger. 2 spearmen in a lane heading into the mine to see what's up. Willa and the 2 archers
guarding the entrance.
Guarding the entrance, also guarding the path up, keeping an eye on all the things. Excellent. Well, this is where we're going to end our session for the day. When we come back next week, we will explore the mountaintop mine. We'll see if this outpost is truly an outpost or if this is the whole 20 or 30 man detachment of deserters and a cleric and some knights. And we'll find out next time what happens on Rise of Drekis. Now, for our post-game chat.
Oh, there's such a thing. Okay.
There's a short thing. Yeah, we're not done. We're still in game. Last session, we got to the island. We sorted things out. We looked for a good landing place, tried to get our bearings. This session, we have sort of explored the island and made first contact with the deserters. We've learned a story. A highly improbable, although not impossible, story about the queen being possessed or corrupted or somehow taken over by demonic forces, which sounds sort of far-fetched, except there was that demon invasion in Eridon. And I mean, there is like a gold dragon who's helping the Empire. So like crazier things have happened in the world. And what is Elaine... How is Elaine feeling about this mission in general? Not so much the lore about the queen and all that jazz, but is this going as you expected? Is this going well? What are your hopes for the ending and wrapping all of this up? Are you going to get out of this without any casualties? Are you going to rescue some people? Are you going to kill all the deserters? Are you going to bring any back alive? What's the deal?
Well, Elena hasn't really talked about it much, but this is a very difficult situation. If you're part of the army, right, and people desert you, that means they put your life at risk and they risk, the lives of your family as well. It means they are aware what they're doing and the impact it has on their lives, right? They know desertation, that you die for that. If you desert, you die. They are well aware of that. These people probably, or many of these people, have families at home as well, right? To be a deserter means you abandon these people. So you have to make you have to think that decision through very well, if that's really something you want to do, because there's no such thing as, oopsie daisy, it happens to the best of us. Like, no matter how Elaine treated that deserter earlier, it's a very, very serious offense to yourself, your army, the people you're supposed to protect, and your family on top of that. And war is looking dire, right? Like, I mean, sure, Drekis is one, whatever, but we're stretched incredibly thin. So we need to stick together if we want to actually build this empire together in a way where we can be strong and defend ourselves against threats like Scoria, Mystria, whatever comes up next, And it doesn't look like we're sticking together. These people are, they are in a pretty hopeless situation, but they've also abandoned people they should have taken care of. Like, they've abandoned that captain on that boat without a second thought. They've disobeyed, it's understandable to want to voice opinions and not to want to do things and all these kind of things, but the whole thing that happened on the ship was highly unprofessional for an army. They were pulling people in that had no business being pulled in as well. So as a soldier who ranks up higher, you have to be able to make tough decisions. And there's a lot of misbehaving, a lot of not following orders, a lot of letting people down that supposedly counted on you. And that is not something she can just let slide for a story, a hunch, or something else. It's not her job either. You know, she's not a detective. She's not here to. She's not a cleric. She doesn't really care about, you know, what is a cleric supposed to know and what not. It's not. She's not here for personal curiosity. She's here because this is her job. She has one officer back in her home camp that's 2 years older than her younger brother. You know? Like, she has a lot of responsibility for many young people who've been sent here, and she's not going to let these people down for a bunch of traitors. You know? Like, she loves Drekis and she loves her country. But if these people betray, you know, their army and their country, and it's us versus them, it's going to be us.
Right.
You know, that it's not a question.
Yep.
And you can feel sorry when you're alone in your tent at night, you know, thinking about the things you might be doing or you might have done or the things you might have said. But during daytime, you know, you're on your job. So, and you have to get it done.
That sounds about right. Okay. Well, the other part of these wrap-ups is that this campaign is sort of setting the tone for the Drekisian Empire, and so Elaine's actions are not entirely predictive of the whole Empire of Drekis, but they say a little bit something. And what we've seen so far is pretty careful, slow movements, making sure to not overextend our lines, making sure not to march up a mountain in too much haste, taking the time to do things right. But we're also seeing that, you know, there's not as many supplies as we would like, that we're trying to do as best as we can with our limited supplies and resources. And we're also seeing just a smidge of deception, just a smidge of like, oh, of course, Griffin, it's gonna be fine. We'll all figure this out together. We're on your side. Oh yeah, people in the cold go crazy. And there's this cleric who's corrupting our kids and like leading them astray. There's like a little bit of sometimes to do the right thing, we need to use a little bit of deception and a little bit of lies, a little bit of framing things the way that we want other people to see them. Maybe that's what the goddess of appearances is all about, is putting things in the right light for the appropriate situation. And I think that's pretty also very, very indicative of the Empire. It's not just Elaine here that shows one thing and maybe does another. That's a normal, ordinary part of governance, and certainly of military advancement. What else do we have here? We did see Elaine go well out of her way to protect and save the crew of the Alma. I don't know if you've done the math on how many mouths you can feed for the rest of the time that you're on this island or not, but each additional person you bring that you save cuts into your own food supply. And you have a limited supply, and you don't exactly know when the ship is going to return. So each person who you decide to feed is a liability. And without questioning, 5 mouths from the ship saved right away. I don't know if that says that you are brave and courageous and willing to go hungry yourself in order to protect others, or if it is just, not doing the math and not thinking about the future and living in the moment and dealing with the problems directly in front of us. I don't know which one it is yet. It'll be interesting to see how things shift if food runs out. But hey, maybe not everyone will survive. Maybe a bunch of your soldiers will die killing the deserters, and then you won't have as many mouths to feed. And the last thing we saw, I don't know if all of our viewers caught it, but there was a moment when talking with Euclid Euler, where Elaine gently and softly offered to put the captain down and not suffer any further. And either the captain didn't notice that or passed, waved it off or refused it. But there's a certain amount of mercy killing that was on the table. Wasn't pushed. He's too sick to even eat, so he's not a liability. So we have a very complicated character, and I think a very complicated empire. It has a lot of responsibilities and not enough supplies to take care of them all, and is doing their best. Would you say that's about accurate, or have I wildly mischaracterized?
No, I think that's very accurate. I think if things get really dire, there are some people who try to just do their job, and sometimes what is good and what is right is not necessarily the same thing. Sometimes you have to choose between things like order and justice, or order, justice, and good, and sometimes you might strive for the best of them, but you'll have to go for a lower version because it's not achievable. And I think in dire times you have to go for what is achievable. So we'll see how that plays out in the end.
Yeah, we will. Well, that is it for Rise of Drekis today. We will be back next week on Thursday. Because August and September are crazy and impossible to schedule. But we'll be back next week on Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central European time? Is that right?
Sounds about right, yeah.
All right, for our third session of Chapter 1 of Rise of Drekis. Good night.